across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. Just gone 6 o'clock. It's Friday the 22nd of May, and you can tell there's a spring in my step, and my hat is at a jaunty angle, which is probably because I only had 2 hours sleep out at some big charity do last night. Mrs. Kyle, who was coming in to show some support, is passed out in bed at the hotel. Me, 2 hours sleep, 2 digestive biscuits, and we're at it. Welcome. Listen, alarm clock, Brits, don't know what you're doing. It's a fantastic day, and it's a bank holiday weekend, and the heat wave's on the way. And just to put it completely into context, it's going to be hotter than the Maldives and the Mediterranean, which just about sums up Britain. But enjoy it, because in a week it'll be colder than Antarctica. As ever with the JK Breakfast Show, the home of common sense, we want your views on the day's news. Loads going on. We want your involvement. Who is going to be the recipient of the I got the first voice note in award? There isn't a prize. 0344 499 1000. The A-team are in place. Christian is here, the world's greatest is it programme editor? Well, he's just generally a nice man. Big Dave's in, saves being in rehab, and Tom is taking your calls. 0344 499 1 moment. Where do I start, man? Oh, hold on a minute. Oh, yes, this is... And listen, there's so much going on today, OK? But there is some breaking news that has literally just come to us. Police have announced that they are now investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, not just about misconduct charges in a public office, also over potential sex crimes. Detectives were keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. This continues to drag the royal family, the Yorks as well, but the entire monarchy down. We're going to speak to Kinsey Schofield this hour. We'll follow this throughout the day, but breaking news on Talk at 6:05. Police are now investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over potential sex crimes. A young woman claiming she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. Where does it end? 6:05. 0344 499 1000. Let's head north. The Makerfield by-election. Let me also be totally straight. I always try to be on this show. Obviously, as the campaign gears up, you will know from a broadcast point of view there's a thing called purdah. We can't show any favouritism. We just have to repeat and report as it happens. Shocking news this morning, though, if you're in Andy Burnham's camp. Sir Keir Starmer has confirmed, yes, he's confirmed, God, that he will go to Makerfield to campaign for his rival Andy Burnham. So in essence, without wanting to upset anybody, you've got the Prime Minister of this country going 200 miles north to say to the people of Makerfield, vote for this man who only wants to do it so he can come south 200 miles and take my bleeding job, which is interesting. Wes Streeting, meanwhile, he's been quite vocal. It's a very funny sound this morning. He's been quite vocal. He looks to be... he might well be included in a future Burnham cabinet. Now, whoever wins in Makerfield wins. We also heard overnight the Green Party candidate quit. It was announced yesterday morning and resigned yesterday afternoon. More of that coming up. Also, politically, don't know if you've read this all over the papers, Angela Rayner has become embroiled in a new row linked to alleged electoral fraud in her local council. 4 men and a woman yesterday arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud. We'll talk about that. And also today, it's official. And what is that noise today? Very weird. Oh, I'll get a different mic. But I will say this to you before we change my mic. This is astonishing. You remember the equalities, the whole big argument with the Supreme Court, and finally it was announced that, you know, biological man, biological woman, that was the difference. Well, today, toilets and changing rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex, guidance says to the Equalities Watchdog. We think, and we've long said this, it's a massive victory for common sense, a massive victory for alarm clock Brits. But check this, my dears, there's a bit of a loophole. The new guidance says that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are if they try and go into a toilet or a changing room. So I'm not being disrespectful. I don't want to get embroiled in a debate. I didn't make the rules. But as we have it now, a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to use a female toilet. But if you see them doing it, and know that they're a man dressed as a woman, you're not allowed to challenge them. That just about sums up the United Kingdom. 0344 499 1000. I say a very good morning to a man who's now going to have to speak to you for a minute while I have my microphone changed. The legend who's used me to get a leg up because I found out that you're on your own tonight on this station from 7 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, Lady Charlie Rowley's in the building.
Well, good morning.
Crack on, do it, because my microphone's stuck.
Well, thank you very much. And there is a massive barrel outside this office, isn't there? And they must have been scraping the very, very bottom before they even got to me on this bank holiday weekend where the sun is going to be shining. It's going to be one of the hottest weekends, I think, of the year so far. Hotter than the Maldives, as you rightly said, and I'm very much looking forward to it. The first bank holiday where we're going to get some jolly good weather. So if you are listening this evening, I may as well plug my own show. I'll be on tonight, 7 till 9 p.m, where you can have a nice beer, you can have a nice a white wine spritzer and listen to me wittering on. But you're absolutely right. We've got a plethora of stories this morning, from politics to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor again taking the headlines. I don't know where to start. I'll continue with politics, I suppose, because you're right. Andy Burnham is in the headlines again, as is the Green Party candidate, who has stood down for some social media posts. Social media comes to bite you in the end. It really does, doesn't it? But Andy Burnham seems to be building his team, were he to take the top job, or was he to win the by-election first of all, and then claim the top job of the man who's going to campaign for him, as you say, the Prime Minister, heading up to Makerfield. Something that Andy Burnham, I'm not entirely sure, would appreciate. Would you?
Sorry, that was great. Honestly, I try to get everything done. It's a complete nightmare. I do apologise. We had a problem with the microphone. Listen, can I just say to my dear friend who's used me categorically to get a career, give him a listen tonight. He is brilliant. He is on from 7 o'clock. Charlie Rowley, round of applause. Nobody's clipping. You haven't had the clap for ages. Right, listen to me. Listen, this is really important. We're going to crack on with it. We are going to keep repeating that serious breaking news. Police are now investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over potential sex crimes. It's understood detectives keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince of the Duke of York's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. Let's get straight to it. Makerfield, we know the rules. Keir Starmer, right? So let's just nail this, right? Keir Starmer, whatever you think of him, is toxic on the doorsteps, we're told, by almost every political party. Andy Burnham makes no secret of the fact that he wants to get back to Parliament to take Keir Starmer's job because he doesn't like the direction this current government are going. So the man who's at the forefront of the direction in which this government's going is going to Makerfield to campaign for a man who's only standing so he can take Starmer's job. It's just unbelievable. And cabinet members are going to go up and down to Makerfield. Why? So in case Burnham wins, they've ticked the box of we showed our loyalty, but their boss is back in London. The whole thing's unbelievable.
It is a psychodrama, and I think I can say that as someone that was in the last Tory government.
Yes.
Where we saw this kind of psychodrama.
Who'd have thought it would happen this quickly?
Well, exactly. And you're absolutely right. You know, what are they campaigning for? You know, Andy Burnham has been very clear, as he said, he's running in this by-election because he wants to change the Labour Party. Now, whether he assumes the role of Prime Minister afterwards, I think that is likely, given the polling that we're seeing amongst Labour Party members. They like him, they prefer him to Starmer, they prefer him to West Streeting. That's the polls that came out earlier on in the week. So were there to be a challenge, and you still need those 81 MPs to come out to declare that they want to get rid of the Prime Minister and instill their preferred candidate, whether that is Andy Burnham or West Streeting or anyone else that might come forward during that potential Labour leadership election, we don't know. But the fact is that we're in this place because people are dissatisfied with the Prime Minister, who is now going to go and campaign in a constituency for a man that says, I basically want to change the Labour Party because you're not doing a good job.
Which means, on a love your thoughts, please, Pete, get on it, 0344 499 1000, text to 87222, which means that Keir Starmer, the incumbent Labour Prime Minister, wants anybody to win Makerfield except for Andy Burnham. And you could argue, and everybody will think he's lost the plot this morning because he's had no sleep. No, you could argue that he's going up there because he knows that he's toxic on the doorsteps to completely and utterly alienate what remaining voters there might be that want to vote for Burnham. The whole thing's extraordinary. I mean, collective cabinet responsibility out the window, duplicitousness. mean, I've said it many times before. I cannot believe that we've got to this point within 2 short years. Love to hear your thoughts this morning on Makerfield. Also to report that the Green Party candidate, this is the Times, page 4, that didn't last a long time, did it? The Green... I don't know where the story is. Queenlit... No. Where are we? Is that the Times? It's page 4. I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, it's the Mail. Well done, Sis. Given don't worry about that. No, I don't care. Yeah, that's fine. It's a live programme. All these people that think it's going to be perfect. No, it's not the Mail either. Anyway, let's not worry about that. The truth of the matter is the Green Party candidate has quit. Do you know why? Do you know why he's quit? Have we something to do there?
There is some, before anybody becomes the candidate, there are, you would hope, checks and balances that take place on anybody that wants to put themselves forward. And one of those, you would imagine, if you're a political party...
Cue the legend that is Christian. Good morning, Christian.
Good morning.
Fantastic. So it's page 8. There we go. Green candidate quits after sharing Golders Green. This is where those ambulances were firebombed, isn't it? Mm-hmm. False flag post. The Green Party's candidate for the Makerfield by-election withdrew from the ballot yesterday less than 12 hours after being announced. Chris Kennedy, a nurse and a children's safeguarding specialist, was announced as the candidate yesterday morning, but by the afternoon had stood down for personal and family reasons, and nominations will be reopened. We're just reporting it as it is. Mm. Do you think it was a bit green behind the ears? No, that's...
But what's more alarming to me, I mean, putting the by-election aside and the selecting candidates, they were championing this guy for being, as you say, a nurse and someone that took part, I think he was in children's services, so protecting kids, was presented as someone who, a safe pair of hands. I don't think I'd want him looking after me in hospital if he has these kinds of views.
No.
That he's obviously reported on social media.
There then becomes a whole debate. I know there was some stuff written about the Reform candidate. I know there's been some stuff. I mean, certainly we were on the show talking about Andy Burnham, stuff he said in the past about the EU. I think Robert Kenyon's the Reform candidate. There's been stuff about social media. There is a whole debate now, isn't there, about if you say something, how can that be brought back? But the world's a different place. Listen, love to know what you think this morning of Makerfield. 0344 419 1000. The Prime Minister, why have I done that voice? The Prime Minister's heading north. We are going to deal with working people. Burnham's in an already difficult position, isn't he? Because he can't say, go away, you odious little man. No, come. But I don't want you to come because people will go, he's the reason that you're standing. It's very weird. Morning, Jeremy and Charlie. I hope the people of Makerfield have their phones ready to video the heckles Starmer will receive. It will be comedy gold, says Debbers. Debbers?
Yeah, why not? But we've
what does that mean? Why not?
Well, whatever place you make. But you're right. We've seen this with Rachel Reeves, didn't we, the other day at the petrol forecourt station? Being heckled by a man who.
I'll tell you something about dodgy Reeves, and I'm entitled to say this. Suddenly, she's in the news, isn't she? Not seen hide nor hair of a woman who can't add up. Suddenly, the Prime Minister's job's on the line, the one that she sort of systematically joined at the hip with, and she's going, I will be delivering the budget. And here's something that I'm going to drop into you at 6:15. I must be the only person in the world. I have very little, if no, respect for our Prime Minister. I make no secret of the fact. I think the way he's governed is appalling. But the more I see of the rest of them, there's this strange feeling in my head that he could actually survive. And that's astonishing, isn't it?
Jeremy, you're onto something. I really do think so. Because even yesterday, I think there is a possibility that he not only survives, but until maybe, say, the conference season. Yeah. Because, it would be extraordinary if let's, hypothesise that, Andy Burnham does actually win the by-election. I don't think he'll become the Prime Minister overnight because they'll have to have an official leadership election, which might take 6 weeks. But
I also, of course, whether he wins, if he doesn't, but I also believe that the clamour, and I have, as I've said to you before, great belief in the British public. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, by the way, peeps. I don't believe the clamour would even begin to die down. I think it will grow every day for how can you be the Prime Minister without a mandate? I've said it. I didn't agree with Gordon Brown taking over without an election manifesto. I didn't agree with John Major doing it. I understand you political nerds will say to me, yes, but the Labour Party, but there is a figurehead. There is undoubtedly a figurehead, and I think that's really important.
No, totally. And if you talk about that figurehead, seeing him yesterday sort of stroll up to number 10, I think he's still on the high from Arsenal winning the winning the Premier League.
It's almost like the shackles are off.
Totally. And I think the attention is totally gone. He might know that the end is in sight, potentially. So why not just give it? So he strolled up number 10 Downing Street and just gave an off, a very unusual, just off the, remarks to a camera from, I think it was ITV, where he said, "Oh, we've had a great day today. Migration numbers are down. Inflation is down. I'm getting on with the job running the country." And he looked, no tie, open collar shirt, strolling into number 10 from the gates, not driven in by those cars, surrounded by the whole motorcade. He was having the time of his life.
I couldn't agree more. Good morning, Lee.
Morning, Jesse. Lee in his van from Scarborough, veteran. Well, it's like watching an episode from The Simpsons, pal. What an absolute, like you said, what a psychodrama. He's going up there for one reason only, and that's to scupper Burnham. And I think he will. And for all these people that say Andy Burnham for next Labour leader, mate, he ain't going to get in. Starmer's going to scupper him, and then it's going to be Streeting. West Streeting's going to try and then do it. But Burnham, I think he's without any shadow of a doubt, mate, Andy Burnham, privileged, jobs for boys, he's not going to get in. He's not going to get in. Anyway, great show, Jesse. Bye.
Lovely, Lee. He was the first. He wins the award. Get your voice note in 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. The Prime Minister is heading north to go to Makerfield, where there's a by-election on the 18th that Andy Burnham is standing in for Labour on a ticket of. I think Keir Starmer's crap, and I want him replaced. Starmer's going to go. I'm convinced now, in the next 5 weeks, I'm going to find Starmer quite a hysterical human being. I think he's gone, well, sod him. I'm going up there. I'm going to knock on all these doors, and people go, "You're revolting," and just go, "Well, don't vote for Labour then, vote for somebody else." Morning, Jez and Charlie. Paul, fantastic news. Star, what are we going to make of it? I think it is, he said, good news for Reform and other parties. Morning, Keith. Morning, Jeremy and Sir Charles. What are these? Are these sort of Is there a knighthood on the...
Well, I'm waiting by the phone. It's only a matter of time.
Really? So Starmer is planning to go up north to go and campaign for Andy Burnham. Don't worry, I'm sure that halfway there he'll turn the car around and go back to London. He likes a U-turn, doesn't he? Morning, Darren. Starmer probably going north to save his own job. He goes there, majority of people can't stand the bloody sides of him, and everybody votes for the other parties. It's very true. Sharon in Staffordshire. Good morning, Jeremy. Spelt wrong. I was watching the fantastic Charlie this evening. He's fantastic. He tells it as it is, says Sharon from Staffordshire. Have you paid people to come at these odiously supportive comments?
There you are. I've got 2 listeners there.
Yes, 2. Dawn's in Wales. Good morning, JK. Great to hear the lovely Charlie Rowley has his own show. He's my favourite guest, and when he is with you, my favourite presenter. It makes my day. I just love the Hinge and Bracket show.
Well, can I say there is something to that, because having sat in this chair, this side of the desk for a couple of years now, I think.
Couple of years,
now regularly, I've learned a lot from you, Jeremy.
This is what they say when you're about to be replaced. Can I just say this is what happens this year?
I have full confidence.
Oh, thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you. Yes, Charlie's got total confidence in me that I'll be here still at 10 o'clock. Brilliant. Yes. Let me tell you something. No, honestly, I got quite defensive there. Brilliant. Morning, Jez, and the beautiful Charlie on a hot sunny morning. Damon from Wigan. What's going on? Why the hell do we want Keir Starmer up here in Manchester? And also, Burnham's done nothing for Manchester. It's the main news story of the day and the most mind-blowing moment of that by-election yet. Keir Starmer heading north. He'll go to Makerfield to campaign for Andy Burnham. Can we also talk about, please, the front page of the Telegraph? You can explain this in a lot more than me. This story breaking yesterday afternoon. Rayner in election fraud row. 5 arrested in MP's constituency over claims of fake council candidates, as former Deputy PM denies any involvement. What is this story?
So this is on the back of the local elections that we've just had, where Reform did very, very well in this particular area. There was
Thameside, is that right? Tameside?
Thameside, I think you're absolutely right. But there is, which is at the heart of Ashton-under-Lyne. That is Angelina's constituency, and she's photographed in many of the papers with the characters that are involved. Now, what has happened is that the Labour Party candidate did win in her ward, or a ward, I should say, Thameside, within her, the Thameside borough within her constituency. But the vote was split because you had a number of independent councillors or candidates that were saying, I'm very local, I'm just campaigning on local issues, don't bother voting for any other mainstream political party because, which...
Cut to the chase. Well, she's behind. There is accusations that 4 or 5 independent candidates who stood to split the vote so that Reform would not win the seat, and it was a calculated deal by the Labour Party or whoever.
And the Labour Party won that seat. So you had people...
The Labour Party saying no evidence has been presented of any Labour Party involvement in these allegations. Rayner also denies involvement.
Yes, yeah, well, they claimed that they were independent, but they were associated with the Labour group. So there is someone somewhere out there that has discovered that these independent, in inverted commas, candidates are actually linked to Labour, and therefore electoral fraud has potentially taken place, and that's why people are investigating it.
It's listen, what views on it? I mean, we don't know because it's under investigation.
It's under investigation. I mean, it's
just another kick in the bits for the Labour Party, essentially, could be.
It is, but this is the also just to point out, this is if it is proven, or if there is any kind of skullduggery or whatever. It just goes to show the lengths that some people may go to take part in either tactical voting or to prevent another party on all sides.
Yeah.
Not just in this case Reform losing out that particular seat, but there may be people plotting to do things in all kinds of constituencies. So it has to be looked into thoroughly to stop anything like this happening.
I remember after Gorton and Denton, didn't Farage make a complaint about family voting? And certainly there need to be checks and balances in place. This will be a story we'll follow. So just to kick off the first bit of the morning show here, breakfast, Makerfield by-election, Starmer's going north. Interesting to vote, to campaign for a man who wants his job if he wins. The Green Party candidate's fallen out. We'll talk more about that. And Angela Rayner has become embroiled in a row because 5 independent candidates standing in Tameside within her constituency at the local elections turned out to be, duds who just take votes, and Labour got... It's fascinating, isn't it? When's your birthday?
It was on the 18th of April.
Sorry about that. 0344 499 1000. Morning, Elaine.
Morning, Jeremy. Elaine here. Well, we want the Labour Party gone altogether. We don't want Andy Burnham or anyone there. I suppose Andy Burnham would probably be the best of the bad bunch, but we need a general election and a change, a complete change.
Conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning, my friends. Just gone 6:25. A beautiful Friday morning. It's a bank holiday weekend. You are with Talk, the home of common sense and the home of free speech. And here's the thing. It's going to be warmer this weekend than the Maldives and the Mediterranean, so nothing will work. Train lines will bend. The whole thing will be a disaster. But just enjoy, get the Barbie out, do whatever. Talk breakfast on till 10. And the legend that is Charlie Rowley, who's now got his own show at 7. Is it a permanent gig on the Friday?
I think I'm just covering Peter Cardwell at the minute. But you never know.
Let me explain something to you as a mentor and a friend. Do you remember, you're not old enough to know this, but on breakfast television years ago, there was a woman called the Green Goddess, Diana Moran. She used to do workouts in a green leotard like that. Oh, Christ, that hurts me up. She took a week off to go glamping. Oh, God, I'm just realising the analogy. And she was replaced by a man in a lycra outfit that was brightly coloured called Mr. Motivator. And the rest is television history. So, look, next week I'm going glamping, shut up, and with my children, might never return. Carble's taken a night off. That's the way it is.
Well,
use the opportunity. Grasp the moment.
Mr. Motivator, I could come in a fluorescent leotard, or is that what you?
I think
what you like?
Keep what you wear at home. At home. 0344 499 1000. So Makerfield, Starmer's going north to campaign for Andy Burnham, who wants his job. Roger from Wales. I think the British would prefer Burnham to win just to have the street party that Starmer's gone. Reform should do the public a favour and withdraw their candidate. We can deal with the next PM after the party. Not sure people agree with that. Guys in Scotland, morning gang, Burnham is Starmer with a northern accent. He will go from the man of the north to the queen of the south. I've got no idea what that means. Darryl in Blackburn, morning Jez, Keir Starmer campaigning for Burnham. He will not be door knocking. His campaigning means he will go and talk to Labour members at the local headquarters for 2 minutes, unannounced, before he heads back to London to pack up.
Yeah, I think that's all pretty true. And I think I've also thought... I spent a lot of time thinking about it, as you can probably tell. But
there's not much else in your life, to be fair.
I always used to think that, OK, even if you disagree with a politician, if you disagree with another political party, there's an element of respect for them having views or values or trying to make decisions, because you can assume, even if you think that they've got it totally wrong, that it's in the best interests of the country. And I'm actually starting to think, when you take the Labour Party, and whoever might replace the Prime Minister... It reminds me of the Brexit days where everybody used to say no deal is better than a bad deal. And I actually think with Keir Starmer, no direction at all is probably better than bad direction, which could be the case under anyone else that wants to lead the Labour Party. So it might just be a case of, well, better the devil you know, let's just see out Starmer until the next general election.
I do think, and we've been heavily critical on this station on this show about Starmer's lack of delivering what he promised, the waspy women. He's attacked farmers, he's attacked pensioners, the net zero madness, all this stuff that wasn't in the manifesto, right? And yet we're pretending, are we, or we're thinking that somebody's going to come in. Not going to be able to check. The mandate that we talked about, the election victory, was based on what Starmer said he was going to do. The grey area is he did a few things that he did. I don't know. Listen, it's very interesting. Carl, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Jeremy. Carl in Bury. Just heard about the Green candidate stepping down. We all know what's happening here, don't we? As usual, all those on the left will stand aside, leaving it for Andy Burnham to go all the way through, because of people like Rupert Law and Kemi, who can't do the right thing for Britain and just step aside. They both know damn well they're not going to get 10% between them, but that 6 or 7% they do get will mean Reform will only get about 47% of the vote, and therefore lose.
Interesting. Can I just point one thing out to you, Carl? The Greens aren't withdrawing a candidate from the Makerfield election. An individual who was standing, a nurse and a safeguarding children's campaigner, it seems, has stepped aside within 12 hours of being announced due to social media posts. So we need to make that point. The Greens aren't withdrawing a candidate. He makes a point that a lot of people are talking about the vote being split. I'm going to say something that's quite contentious. I think every political party has an absolute right to field a candidate. I don't think there should be any deals. I think deals are dodgy. I think people should be able to look at the ballot and go, do I want this? Do I want that? Amanda in London, Keir Starmer's vanity has no limits, Charlie. I think he actually believes he will help Andy Burnham by tagging along.
Well, that's probably very true, actually. He might have this sort of, tin hat on and thinking, oh, actually, things aren't really that bad. They don't hate me that much. Because,
they do!
So he might think he might be helpful. all. But
Guy says it's obvious Burnham is just going to use this constituency to get elected.
So this is where, and I absolutely agree with that, and this is where I am conflicted. I was very actually quite strong, I thought, the other day of saying that actually that some candidates should stand down because this is such a different by-election. This isn't a normal policy platform that. But
if you're going to win,
forward.
You win with everybody on the field, and if you lose in a field that's full.
And I see that, but we are talking about a psychodrama within the Labour Party where they are parachuting in someone to be a candidate to then become Prime Minister of this country.
Then give the people of Makerfield, in my humble opinion, exactly what we need to give the people of Britain, which is that we trust their judgment to see what is being put in front of them. I'm a really strong believer that ultimately, when push comes to shove, the British electorate will do the right thing. Sorry, maybe that's naive.
No, and I'm coming round to that view, Jeremy, because you're very persuasive. But
it's been said.
But I also think it's a binary choice. It doesn't really.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
Well, it's one or the other. So it's like the referendum that we had 10 years ago. You either want to vote to remain or leave. It's not.
But the point that you don't talk about is if you're talking about other parties. That guy mentioned Restore. He mentioned the Tory Party. There might well be Restore and Tory Party members who go, it would be a waste. I don't want to see Labour. I'm going to change my tick. I just think it has to be down to the people. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's fair.
Morning, jubilant Jezza and cheerful Charlie. I've got the day off from contributing to migrants today, so I can listen to the full show. Have a great show, lads. Well, we're on, and then later on, he's on his own. 7 o'clock, Charlie Rhodey, live and exclusive across the United Kingdom with a special guest. I'm going to come on your show tonight.
Can you?
Yes, absolutely. How much are you paying?
Christian, I'm sure will be in
No, he'll negotiate for me. You won't be able to afford half me. You're joking. Morning, Charlie. Oh, all right, then I'm just not here. How can you possibly learn anything from Jether? Wow. How can you possibly learn anything from Jeremy? He's never there. He's going camping next week. Could you stick up for me? How hard do I work?
I'm not having that. You work incredibly hard. And I've learned everything. Do you know what? You've taught me everything you know.
This is beginning to sound like my broadcasting epitaph, isn't it? I'm going to be stuck in the middle of some field in the pouring bloody rain next week, and I'm going to get the call. Jez, yes, it's over.
No.
Charlie is doing breakfast. I would congratulate you.
I won't let that happen.
I would. Do you know what Pete says? We're not not hinge and bracket. We're unhinged and bracket, as in bracket. It's a bit unfair, isn't it?
There you go.
Yes. Morning, Matt.
Morning, Jez. Matt in Warrington, just about to set off for the day. I reckon Reform will do a different approach to Makerfield, do it nice and quietly, not so much publicity, and Labour will go in all guns firing, and Labour will absolutely cock it up, and we'll make a right mess of it, and it'll backfire on them massively, which Starmer will be happy with, but he'll make out he's not. Burnham will go sulking off back to Manchester. I might have to be re-elected, or his career will be over, and he'll end up driving a yellow bus around Deansgate. But yeah, the next 4 weeks is going to be absolute comedy, pure soap opera, like Coronation Street. Great show. Messed me up a little bit being on a Friday.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. Don't forget that breaking news, serious breaking news. We'll speak to Kinsey Schofield before 7. Police are investigating now Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor, over potential sex crimes. Detectives are keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. We will, of course, keep you updated. 0344 499 1000. Charlie Rowley, the legend that is Charlie Rowley, is now doing Friday nights at 7 o'clock. Apparently it's just for tonight. Well, that's how it works. He's here. Now, this is the bit where I just want to... we're going to talk about single-sex toilets, but I know it's a very dangerous subject, and we straight on the... I've got a joke. Ooh. I've got a chromosomes guide for beginners. I just got sent this by the legend that is Rob, Newcastle, the old mate. XY is male, XX is female, and do you know what Y is? Do you know what that is? Delilah. Boom, boom, boom. Do you not like that?
Very good.
Right.
Yeah, that's very good.
Bridget Phillipson is not only the Education Secretary, with a bob, she's also the Equalities Minister. And yesterday, finally, after a year, hadn't implemented what the Supreme Court said. From now on, toilets and changing rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex. Which, to me, is like a victory for common sense. But then we read between the lines and there's a loophole. So the new guidance had said that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are before they start using a toilet or a change room. They should respect the law that there's male and female toilets, blah, blah. So as I see it, a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to use a female toilet. But if you saw a man dressed as a woman trying to use a female toilet, you're not allowed to challenge them. Mm-hmm. So how the hell does that work then?
And I think that's where this, again, for such a small number of people, but it matters, obviously, to protect single-sex spaces, particularly women's spaces, because they are more largely at risk from attacks from men. So it's important that we get this absolutely right. And whilst it's common sense and welcome that the guidance sort of says, right, in sports now, it is absolutely the case that, you know, if you're biologically male, you can't compete in women's sports. That should have been a given. And I think most people accept that. I mean, well, apart from the Olympic Committee, the last Olympics, but there we go.
It's not great,
Everybody else seems to get that. And the same with changing rooms. What really bothered me about this, reading it, because I just think it's so simple, because we are talking about a small minority of people. But the reason why it's so difficult is because there are people that do use it. Is the case in Scotland, I think Isle of Bryson.
Where, you know, don't start on me about that. It's just ridiculous,
but where a man claimed that he was trans.
No. Can we be really? Because it's my favourite subject. A man who had raped.
Yes.
Sorry, 27 in the morning. Who had raped 2 women, right, and was sent to jail and transitioned dramatically overnight, so he went to a female prison, and they let that happen. And all they talk about is trans. What about women's rights in that instance?
Exactly, and that's why we've got to get this absolutely right and be very clear. That the guidance, you know, also came out to sort of say, actually, it would be inappropriate to ask a trans person to use... well, in the guidance, they still quoted it as disabled toilets. I don't think we call them disabled toilets anymore. They're called accessible bathrooms because they're accessible for people that might need bigger spaces.
Does that mean disabled and trans people will now clash over the use of disabled toilets, then, potentially?
That's why the guidance said they couldn't promote that or argue that or use that as guidance, because there would be that sort of, you know, clashing and you know, multiple people wanted to use it at multiple times. But to be perfectly honest with you, you know, accessible bathrooms are not just for people that might need more space, that might be wheelchair-bound, that might be whatever disability that they might have. You know, they're baby changing rooms as well. You know, they're used to, so they are multiple occupied or multiple usage. And I just think it is not unfair or offensive actually to ask someone who, if you are biologically male, so you feel as, but you identify as a trans woman, so you feel that you can't go into the male changing room. Well, to be maybe honest with you, you know, men might actually be uncomfortable with that. They might not want a man who is identifying as a trans woman, wearing a dress and a wig and high heels, in the men's change room also. So we've got to find a space for these people. And I don't think a woman would obviously want that trans man to be in... there's some sort of, contraption going off in this building as I'm talking. We're not entirely sure what spaceship might be flying in, but there we are. Transatlantic, from transgender to transatlantic. And we need some transparency.
Going on in this studio? Stop a minute. It's like a drone. This is all very weird this morning. There's a drone. Is there? What?
Unless a light...
What is it? Sorry about this, if you just... I think it's that camera, isn't it? This is very weird.
Zooming in as I was getting to the nub
Point of the matter is, let me ask the obvious question, right? This is really weird. Do you believe there should be separate spaces for trans men or trans women, or do you think there should be that shared accessibility? Because I am not going to change my mind, sorry if it upsets people, that my teenage daughter, I don't want her changing in a changing room for women where a man with a penis, whatever he thinks he wants to be, I don't accept it, and I'm not accepting it, and I'm not going to allow anybody to tell me that it's wrong.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think we have, in a number of settings, like some leisure centres, all change rooms are cubicle-based, for example.
Yep,
so you go in, you get changed in a cubicle, and then you come out, it's a communal space, you then just jump in the pool, hopefully having a shower first, then you jump in the pool. That can exist. But the idea that we have to tell business now to redesign their bathrooms, to spend money just for, again, a small minority of people who I'm not discounting or discrediting, because I actually think trans people are genuine trans people, not people that just use it for militancy or to go on and commit those crimes that we talked about a second ago. These are people that I think have had quite a struggle in life, that haven't felt able to contribute to society, that haven't been able to live their best life, that do suffer because of that, or mental health problems.
I'm just agitated by those activists that jump on the back of that.
Absolutely, but with all of that given, you're absolutely right. Because of whatever struggles you've had in the past, not being who you believe you are, that does not give you the right to then write... I mean, I want to play for Arsenal Football Club, but I can't because I'm not good enough.
Right, listen, I've got to go to a break because this is very, very bizarre this morning. There is a sound like a drone. They've summoned an engineer, which is fantastic. They've arrived. We'll say good morning to Sean and go to a break. Back in 3.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Charlie. Sean from Grimsby here. Been a strange week in politics this week, so here's a few things that I've learned. Drilling in the North Sea for oil is bad. Buying Russian oil is good. Owning slaves is bad. Buying solar panels that are made is good. Scottish and Welsh nationalism is good. English nationalism is bad. Andy Burnham wants to join the EU, whilst at the same time doesn't want to join the EU, and Rachel Reeves should stay away from petrol stations. Great show, mate.
conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. If you have been listening, I nearly said to an hour of top quality radio and television. It's been beset by technical problems. My microphone broke, and we just had what sounded like a camera buzzing away like a drone. We've sussed it out though. It's mended. This is you, isn't it, Rowley? You've got your little evening show tonight in for Cardwell, and you're sabotaging my career now, aren't you? Well, this studio's going to combust.
Well, they did say that there was a morning slot. What time is this show on again?
6 o'clock.
Oh, I think we might overlap.
Pardon?
We might overlap.
Won't be the first time. 12 minutes to 7, 0344 499 1000. Right, let's get serious. I want to head stateside. The host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Kinsey, good morning. How are you, my darling?
Hi, JK. Hi, Charlie. Good to see you both.
Breaking news as we came on air. It's in every single newspaper. Front page of The Sun today. Andrew Cops probe sexual misconduct, fraud, corruption, misconduct in public office and perverting the course of justice. And as we came on air, news that a woman who claims to have been taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes is due to speak to police. This story, on a serious note, is... it won't go away, I fear, for so much about the monarchy. This is appalling.
I agree, because I think that the question now becomes whether the monarchy looks morally serious or evasive.
Yeah.
Never complain, never explain has worked wonders over the last few decades. But this is a case where people are demanding more. You know, okay, so Andrew had to move into another home, another cushy home, somewhere else on another royal estate. And he's going to have people there helping him, not as many people, but he's going to have people there helping him. He has security. The king, it seems, is helping fund that lifestyle. And people are rejecting it. Why should he just go into early retirement when we're, alarm clock Britain, and this guy's just sitting around playing video games and not showering? So I think the royal family has a real problem on their hands. I mean, truly, I'd love to sit down with a crisis communications person and pick their brain as if there's anything that the royal family could do to redeem themselves in this situation. The king's not speaking to his brother. I don't believe anyone else is really engaging with him. I know that they're doing everything they possibly can, but this is a totally new game.
I'll tell you why I agree with you. This is not going to go away. And what worries me, actually for the first time in my life, is the front page of the Daily Mail. Police probe Andrew over sex offences. But you'll notice in the corner, and this is a story that ran yesterday, Kins, it says, the Queen pushed for Andrew to get the trade envoy job. A woman who was the steadfast, solid part of all 60 years of my life, and for most of us was on the throne, is being dragged into this because for the first time in my lifetime, people are saying, hold on a second, yes, amazing, but you must have wondered what the 12 million was for. The fact, as you said, there's no explanation. The royal family's approach has always been it will go away. This is not going to go away. I have said it for months. He is going to go to prison, right? There's no doubt he's going to go to prison, whether, in my mind, some people disagree. I think the same could happen to Fergie. This is going beyond individuals. This then taints the whole monarchy. I saw Charles when he went to your country and did such a great job with soft diplomacy over 4 days. A story like this destroys all of that and some in a heartbeat. And I think, I don't know what the answer is. If you if you're Charles, what do you do? Do you throw him out of the country? Do you excommunicate him? Does something then happen that you're responsible for? I've no idea. If you get him out of the public eye, as you said, you're seen as giving him a cushy life on a royal estate. What is the answer in your mind?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think you just made a great point that with these additional investigations going on, the odds of him actually going to jail are increasing by the second. I mean, there is the argument that the government, the government secrets, sharing government secrets to Epstein, charges might not hold up because technically there are all sorts of technical arguments about why that might not go through. And then here comes these new investigations circling. So this guy must be so out of his mind, stressed over these past instances that he probably meant nothing to him. I mean, isn't that just so vile and just repulsive to think that he just thought, whatever, it's just some other girl, allegedly.
But it is, absolutely agree with you, but it's entitled behaviour, and every single person you talk to about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor will tell you entitled, arrogant, completely dismissive of right and wrong. I don't know what's true, but it speaks for itself. The King's brother has been arrested today. Every paper smacks of potential sex offences. It doesn't get any worse than this. It really doesn't. And what, in my humble opinion, I asked you the question, we all, what's the answer? What's the answer? I think this, at the very least, is going to mean a change in the royal family. I said it to you months ago. I think the only way, if this continues, for the slate to be wiped clean is for the King to fall on his sword, cite his personal illness, and allow Kate and William, right, to just start with a clean broom. Because if this continues, they'll all be dragged down. And I can see the monarchy and all those people, the Republicans who jump up and down, having a field day. Because what Andrew has done, and we still don't know the truth, is drag this family into the mire, supported, I have to say, by his mother and his brother. Not supported, but what, turn a blind eye? I don't know. It's appalling.
Well, I wanted to ask you, based on what you said to me originally, about how you feel like the Queen is just now being dragged into this. Were you not getting briefed? Because I've been briefed from the get-go that this was an inherited problem for King Charles, and the conversations have been: is this? Are the men in gray suits today throwing them under the bus, throwing the Queen's men in gray suits under the bus, throwing the Queen under the bus? Yeah. And I do think it was an inherited problem. I don't think that King Charles, I do think he wants to protect the monarchy, but I don't think he would have wanted to protect his brother to the extent his brother was protected.
But also, if the reason I'm with you on this, and we're not talking conspiracy, is it's easy to throw the Queen and her legacy under a bus. On the front page today of the Mail, Queen pushed for Andrew to get trade envoy job. I can categorically tell you, probably tomorrow or the next day, they'll repeat the story they wrote some weeks ago, which is that Charles always said it was a recipe for disaster for him to be given that trade job. That was in the papers weeks ago. I don't know, but what I do know is, something that I was brought up to believe in, when I read stories like that, is crumbling, and it breaks my heart. But there's no excuse. I don't know of any mother that would say, there's 12 million quid, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. I don't need to know. I don't need to know what that's for. A woman that eats out of Tupperware, I don't need to know what that's for. Completely. I'm sorry that, and not to be like a jerk, but I think one thing that they have to do is cut Beatrice and Eugenie off, because there Agreed. Are still questions surrounding how they're being financed and some of the relationships they established through their parents. And they're just a reminder of their parents' bad behavior. Unfortunately, it's the truth.
Well, listen, Andrew Loney, who we've had on loads, and we had an interview with him last week, he will say that they have benefited through payments, companies, jobs and whatever. I don't know the truth about that. But this is sordid. It's not going to go away if you're just waking up. Kinsey's with us. Police have announced today they're investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over potential sex crimes. Detectives are keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. Charlie Rowley's with me. Charlie, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean... Excuse me, I'm with Kinsey on a lot of this. I think, look, Eugenie and Beatrice probably should take a step back. Fergie should not be getting anywhere near TV deals that she's been sort of touting for, or any
I
kind
think
of
she
book
could go
launches.
to prison as well.
It's a mess. I mean, the only thing I would say is, look, we've known for a long time, I think, between the lines that the Queen liked Prince Andrew. He was touted as the favourite.
He was the favourite.
But in her defence, although I'm sure she really did want him to have the role, I mean, it was held previously by the Duke of Kent, and so I think the Queen was quite keen to say,
no, we're not denying that.
There are no other royals available, so it must be Andrew. It must be.
What we're saying is, suddenly it's in the paper saying she pushed for a job, and we've read that Charles didn't want him to have a job, and our Kinsey's dead right. Are they now pushing the Queen under? Because that in itself, you would never, both of you, have thought that could ever happen, would you, Kins? The Queen being tainted?
No, I mean, her legacy was one of perfection. Anyone would say, oh, there was just one misstep, and that was the death of Princess Diana. And now we have a very glaring second misstep.
I agree so much. This is a story that's not going to go away. You know what I find really upsetting, Kins? It's not shocking. If you read about this guy and you know about this guy as you do, far more than me, I'm not surprised, and sometimes I wonder where it ends. Him on a Scottish island.
Diddy and Fergie kind of threw me for a loop, but other than that, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Listen, great to have you on. How is good old US of A? Everything going well?
Yeah, come see me.
Oh, well, I thought you were coming seeing me.
I am in 2 weeks, yes.
I got a message yesterday from Harry Cole. Just been speaking to Kinsey.
Jealous.
Harry's your new man, right?
Well, I can't commit at this time.
You can't commit at this time? Why not?
Because now that I've seen you, I've missed you. Now we're back. We're back, baby. We're back.
I hope you're watching, Cole, yeah? Back in your box, Harry Cole. The king is reclaiming his throne. Not that that makes any sense after this morning. Kinsey Schofield, thank you so much indeed. We love you, Kinsey Schofield, host, of course, of the Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered channel. This is a massive story. Police probing Andrew over sex offences. Detectives are keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. A story that's going away. Can I keep you for a little bit? 10 minutes?
You can, yes. Why not?
Well, there's a couple of other stories I want to talk to you about.
For you, I'll do it, of course.
And also, if you are tuning in, Charlie Rowley will be on air on his own tonight from 7 o'clock. He's the new kid on the block. He's taken Carwell's evening slot for tonight, and he's after the breakfast show. Our first hour this morning has seen gremlins aplenty in the studio. But we're coming back. We'll talk Makerfield. Starmer's going to campaign for a man who wants his job. That's weird. Angela Rayner has been included or embroiled in a row linked to election fraud. And it's official, all about biological sex and toilets. News at 7, next on Talk Breakfast. Enjoy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. Welcome along or welcome back. Just gone 7 o'clock on a bank holiday Friday weekend. The sun is out, the sky is blue, and don't even go there. It's going to be warmer this weekend than the Maldives and the Mediterranean. We're on the station that is all about common sense and your views on the day's news. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. There's a spring in my step and my hat is at a jaunty angle. It's probably because I only had 2 hours sleep. What are you waking up to in the most mind-blowing moment so far of the Makerfield by-election, June the 18th, where Andy Burnham is the Labour candidate and has made no secret of the fact that he wants to win the seat to come to Westminster to replace Keir Starmer, who he believes has gone in the wrong direction. Breaking news overnight, that Keir Starmer has confirmed that he's going to Makerfield to campaign for his leadership rival. So you have a Prime Minister supporting a man that's standing on a ticket to take his job. Let's hear from the Prime Minister himself. Lovely.
Yes, and I've said to the whole Labour movement that I want everybody to be involved in the campaign. Whatever other discussions are going on, it's really important that's a straight fight between Labour and Reform. It's about the values that we take into politics, so it's really important that we all pull together and fight in that by-election, as we will do. Yeah, I want to be part of that, of course I do, and I want everybody to be part of that, but also by being clear about the steps we've taken to stabilise the economy. Because all of this that we've announced today has only been possible because of the steps we took at the budget. The fact that inflation dropped is because of the steps. That didn't drop out the sky. That's because of the decisions the government took. So we've got a very good story to tell. We need to get out there and have that opportunity to make the case.
I find myself in a slightly weird position. Charlie Rowley, I'm going to say, what are you, special advisor turned television and radio presenter, who's doing his own show tonight on Talk from 7, and many people believe he's trying to sabotage my career. But he looks to me like the shackles are off, unless I'm missing the point. Starmer looks like I'll go to Makerfield. Yeah, it probably is the end. But you know what? I'm going to tell it how it is. That's the most natural I've heard him.
Yep, I'm going to go to Makerfield, and what's more, I'm going to encourage the whole Labour movement to go to
everybody's going to Makerfield.
In my name, as if that's going to be helpful.
My lot are good. Ches and the new kid on the block, Charlie. If Starmer's going to Makerfield, what a first-class hypocrite. He blocked Andy weeks ago and now campaigning. There you go, Reform will win hands down. I don't understand that. My crazy theory, says Darren, this is really interesting, because I know what I think. My crazy theory is that Starmer wants Reform to beat Burnham, so Burnham can't run for his job. Basically, if he goes up north and endorses Burnham, he's so toxic on the doorsteps. That's another theory as well. I wouldn't put that past him, would you?
Totally. And then, if that were to happen, let's say that, if we take Andy Burnham just out of the equation, we then go back to the situation where we were a few weeks ago, where Wes Streeting was trying to challenge the Prime Minister for the job. He resigned from the government. We weren't quite sure, actually, at the end of the day, whether Wes had that magic number of 81 MPs to challenge the Prime Minister for his job. Would he still have those MPs? Maybe not. Does the Prime Minister actually think, of all the people he's been canvassing over the last week, that he's got the sufficient numbers to stand?
Listen, we are in a position where when you start with a by-election, it's June the 18th. we can't. We just have to report it as it is. You can look at it. You've got cabinet ministers. What happened to collective cabinet responsibility? I've been in a cabinet meeting, sir. I'm going up to Makerfield now to campaign for the man who thinks you're crap and he wants your job. If Burnham wins, would he accede to the throne? No, I think the British public will go, hold on a minute, you haven't got a mandate. I haven't been blown away by him. There's other candidates. We should also add into this that the Green Party candidate, got announced yesterday morning at 10 o'clock and resigned yesterday evening at 10 o'clock. Apparently some historical posts. But Starmer, I heard him speak about migration yesterday, right? The man buzzing off his bits. Morning, listen to this.
Good morning.
Very pleased to see the migration figures this morning come down significantly, and that's obviously on the top of the news about waiting lists last week, where we had a record drop in waiting lists, and of course the news about growth, the money we've got in our economy, the fastest growing economy in the G7. So that's all really good news within about a week or so, and of course today we're announcing cost of living package for the summer for families. So I'm really proud that we're getting on and delivering. Thank you very much.
Is it all too little too late, do you think, Prime Minister?
No, this is really good delivery. This is really significant, so I'm very, very pleased. All of those figures are good news. Taken together, they're a very strong package.
And are you willing to take on Andy Burnham in the leadership contest? Do you think your time as Prime Minister is over, Keir Starmer?
No official car, no crash, just walking up Downing Street in shirt sleeves. Just different, as you said in the last hour. Weird.
Totally. the fact that they've allowed him to do that. Obviously that
they've allowed him to do it. Would you mind if I walked to my office today? Is that not allowed?
Well, I imagine. I almost fell for probably my own spin, because I think that probably would have been staged, because he would be always with advisors or people carrying bags or
maybe
security.
He's walked out that they're all rubbish. He's just going to do it himself now.
He just said, "Yeah, you stay inside." I'm just popping out. Just popping outside the front door for a bit, and there's a camera. I'm going to go and walk up to them and tell them how good news is.
What do you make of it, peeps? 0344 499 1000. Many of you think, Danny. So Starmer is going to Makerfield to support Burnham. Turns out the turkeys do vote for Christmas. I hope there's a general election called soon, says Pete. It's not fair. Trev in Boston, the mindset of Starmer is warped by campaigning for his rival Andy Burnham, who will possibly take his job. How can he... he can live with a clear conscience. I think Starmer's on manoeuvres. I think he's going to try and sabotage Burnham. We'll talk more about that. Just want to do a couple of quick stories with you as well before you go. Just to repeat, because it's a rolling news day, Angela Rayner has become embroiled in a row linked to alleged electoral fraud. Her local council Thameside saw 12 Reform candidates win and just one Labour. Pictures on the front of this paper, I did it already, the Daily Telegraph, say that some candidates stood independently, this is written in the thing, but had links to Labour who came through and won.
Yeah, and the whole point there, the plot, as has been alleged, is to try and split the vote across different parties and different candidates in order to ensure that actually the Labour vote held up, as it did in this particular ward, and the Labour candidate did win in this ward, but allegations that some of those conversations amongst the people involved took place around her kitchen table. She fiercely denies it, but then...
Where was the kitchen table? In Hove or in Ashton-under-Lyne?
In Ashton-under-Lyne.
Oh, there we go. Jan Ward says Starmer knows that he's so toxic and he's going to Maxfield because he actually wants to stop Burnham from winning. He's a conniving, manipulative git, only out for himself, says Jan in Newcastle. So good morning to you. And Joanna, good morning. Jez, Starmer is scary when he half smiles. He reminds me of Wednesday Addams. Who's Wednesday Addams? Do we know? Oh, the Addams family. Well done. Thank you. Richard Baglow. It's a nice name. I love it when you take Mickey out of North, Jez. Genuinely keep it coming. But we need to talk about accents. A Wigan accent is not a Bolton accent. A Bolton accent is not a Manchester accent. And a Manchester accent is definitely not just generic bloke outside Greg saying, our kid. There are levels to this. You can't just throw in a flat cap, say, by gum, and up the north will sort itself out. So consider this a friendly public service announcement, please. Refine your northern accent work before half of Lancashire starts writing strongly worded emails. You can sod off, but thanks very much indeed for sending us email to Shaw. Richard Baglaw.
Well, a lot of time and effort went into that message. It was quite lengthy, wasn't it?
Quite a lot of effort and time went into me doing my accent. Before we let you go, very quickly, it's official. We didn't talk too much about this. Bridget Phillipson, Equalities Minister as well as Education Minister, her with the bob. Toilets and change rooms must from now on be used on the basis of biological sex guidance, says the Equalities Watchdog. We think that's common sense. You were talking about that we have problems before the news, but there is a loophole. The new guidance says that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are, so they could head into a toilet. Somebody could be completely thinking to themselves, that's not right, and you're not allowed to complain about it. So how the hell is this going to work in reality, my friend?
Yeah, well, it won't, I think, and so this guidance will just not be helpful in that particular area to businesses and leisure centres and places where there are mixed spaces or where they should have single-sex spaces. It'll just confuse people, or people won't feel able to, where they need to, actually ask someone what their gender is or their sex is, or to stop them going into the wrong cubicle or the wrong toilet to protect women. That's just the crux of it.
Charlie Rowley, we need to go home. You need to reset. You need to look after yourself as he makes another appearance tonight on Talk from 7 o'clock. Charlie Rowley, his own show. And you're gunning for this job as well. You're brilliant. We love having you on, and thank you for...
Are you going to come on this evening?
Yeah, I'll come on this evening, yeah. I'll be at home with a glass of wine, but I'll come on.
Perfect, OK.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, I'd actually quite like your views on what's coming up this weekend. West Ham as well. Big game at the weekend.
Are you doing football?
I can do the football. I can do the football.
I can do the football.
I can do the football. But also, you mentioned England earlier on. We'll get the team later on. We get your thoughts on the England
football.
We'll
do that. Are you paying a fee?
Christian, I believe, is the man with the purse.
Don't you start painting a picture of Christian. He hasn't... It's a breakfast budget only. Get out. Charlie Rowley, thank you. We love you. Thank you very much. He's on tonight, 7 o'clock in for Peter Carboy. Right, 0344 499 1000. You might want to talk about Makerfield. You might want to talk about Rayner. You might want to talk about transgender rulings of Bridget Phillipson, or the disaster that is the increasing disaster of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Breaking news at last hour that police are now investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over potential sex crimes. We'll keep you updated. 30 minutes past 7. We'll say a very good morning to the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, a man who has had an incredible life and some amazing experiences. Love to have him on the show again. Nadim Zahawi, a very good morning. Welcome to a Bank Holiday Friday, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. I come in most mornings and think, oh, God, there'll be nothing in the news. We have to, which I know you'll understand, when we're talking about a by-election that's in process, there's a thing called purdah, so we have to be straight down the line. But most people find it mind-blowing that a Prime Minister is going to a constituency to campaign for a bloke who's simply using that constituency as a stepping stone to head down to Westminster to take that very man's job because he says he's not very good at it, Nadim.
Yeah. Do you remember, Jeremy, the ice cream scene with Tony Blair and one Gordon Brown when they both went to a Mr. Whippy van whilst out campaigning to pretend that they are best of buddies politically, and that Gordon wasn't going to push Tony out. I think whenever Keir goes up, watch out for the body language. I think Andy will be furious, as will his team, that the PM is almost the sort of smiling assassin.
Yeah, I was going to say sabotage. And just to get a view from you, you were involved in so many shenanigans. Just a few quick questions. Burnham, where do you stand on this? Let's just say he wins the seat, and I don't know whether he's favourite. Let's just say he wins the seat, and he heads down to London, and he gets the 81, and he challenges Starmer, and some months down the line he becomes Prime Minister. I'm very strong on this, you might not be. Do you think it's right that a person can take over a leadership and walk into number 10 when he hasn't presented his mandate to the British people? Because I don't.
I agree with you. And I think if Andy thinks he's just going to get away with that, that's not going to happen, certainly not from us at Reform. We're throwing everything at this by-election, Makerfield, knocking on doors, making sure our boy Kenyon is out there. Everyone knows him. He's a local lad. Plumber, served this country as a reservist. You know, I've got to tell you, when Kenyon is choosing to serve the country, Andy's choosing to serve himself because, if I was living in that constituency, I'd be thinking, how much time is he going to spend looking after me?
But what about balancing that by the people who would say it would mean an awful lot to have a Prime Minister as our local MP? Is there a strength in that argument at all?
I'm sure there'll be those who'll be thinking that. Most people, I think most sensible people, want a really strong Member of Parliament as their champion and their voice in Westminster, someone who cares about them rather than is a carpetbagger.
Yeah.
I just think ultimately Keir Starmer loses both ways. We're going to work very hard to win the seat. If we do, Starmer's in trouble because there'll be, basically a psychodrama at number 10 again. If Andy wins, there'll be a psychodrama at number 10 within 5 minutes because Keir's going to try and hang on, and it'll be ugly and miserable and horrible, and they'll trash their brand in the way the Conservatives trash their brand. I find it hard to come back from it.
I'm sure you'll understand my slight humour in the next line. Yeah. The Reform slogan in Gorton and Denton, if I remember rightly, was vote Reform, get rid of Starmer. And yet, in this constituency, and I'm not a PR person, Andy Burnham's slogan is vote Labour and get rid of Starmer as well. So the whole thing's... we said earlier, we've got a Prime Minister, whether it's conspiratorial that he's going there to sabotage Burnham, who must wish that another party wins the seat. I mean, it's bizarre. The whole thing's bizarre, isn't it?
Look, my message to the people who will be choosing their Member of Parliament is vote Reform, because we'll get rid of this government. The one thing that will happen if Starmer survives, or even worse, if Andy Burnham becomes Prime Minister, is the pound will sell the pound if they do, because they're going to tack left. Right. And I know Andy says I don't care about the bond markets, but the bond markets will punish us. We're already an outlier. I was watching when you had Starmer there looking all relaxed and coming up to the camera, slightly, dare I say, contrived, but nevertheless.
I thought he was just D-mob happy.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying his best to hang on desperately. But the outlier that we are today, just remember the 10-year bond, right? I know this sounds a bit technical, but just hear me out for a second. The 10-year bond, right, under Liz Truss got to 4.7% interest. That's how much we pay on it, right? And we got rid of her. It was trading at 5.2% interest. That means next year, just to service the debt of our country, we have to pay £120 billion a year. And the reason we're an outlier, i.e. the markets require us to pay a higher interest rate, it's a bit like your mortgage, effectively, right, is because they don't trust Labour. They don't trust Rachel Reeves, Rachel from accounts, as my friend Lee Anderson puts it, right, to actually make sure she delivers on the economy. So all this rubbish about, oh, well, we're doing a little bit better. Watch the bond markets if there is further turmoil in this government, and the sooner we get rid of them, the better.
It's interesting, isn't it? I'm always... we can sit here and we can talk about specifics. I think instead of text, loads of them will always, but Linda sums it up to me. She goes, Jez, hello, government. whilst you lot are fighting like sacks in a rats in a sack, most of us are just fighting to survive and pay our bills. And I think that is the point. And the reason that the Tory party lost what it lost at the end, and we know this, we've talked about it repeatedly, is that the British people felt that all the shenanigans, all the changing of leaders, all that stuff was superseding the stuff that really mattered, which was cost of living and immigration and all those things. Can I ask you quickly, because I want to throw a couple of things at you, Nadim. Angela Rayner this morning, front page of the Telegraph. Rayner in election fraud row. It turns out that 5 have been arrested in the constituency over claims of fake council candidates. Rayner and Labour both denying it. Have to make that point. Labour saying no evidence has been presented, but it seems that 4 or 5 local candidates who were pictured round her kitchen table, amongst other things, that's what Charlie Rowley was saying this morning. There's a picture there on the front of the Telegraph of her with one. Split the vote, and it was the only seat in Tameside, however you say it, that Reform didn't win. Now, I made the point earlier that Reform complained about family voting in Gorton and Denton. With everything that's going on, we should we not, be expecting our election voting officials to be a bit stringent in the weeks and months ahead?
Absolutely right. And I think this smells, it stinks. It says one thing, and for your viewers and listeners to just think about, Labour are so desperate to hold back Reform. Reform is making real inroads into those Labour seats. Why? Because the people there realise that Labour's not for them, right? Doesn't work for them, doesn't do anything for them. They work for their Islington lefty set, right? Who've got all the wrong ideas about how to run the country, the economy. When I talk about the bond markets, it impacts your listeners, your viewers, because as your very good viewer just sent that message in saying, it's my mortgage, right? It's my payments on my credit card debt. Absolutely. That is all impacted when the economy is fragile and we can't effectively convince the world that we're running it properly. And I just think this story, the police will look into this. It's very serious. What it says to me is Labour's going to do everything to try and stop us from winning and chucking them out of number 10. But they will not prevail, I promise you that. We will win ultimately and get them out and run the country properly and demonstrate to the country that 2 or 3 emblematic policies on cost of living, on stopping illegal migration, making sure that people coming here pay their way. We don't have to pay 13 billion a year to... listen, my family came here and became British, and we're proud of it, right? Why are we paying for 13 billion pounds a year for Brits who aren't even British yet, and they'll continue claiming afterwards? A big number of them.
I find it, and you were Chancellor's Checker, I find it completely, I don't even know the right way to describe it, Nadim. We have a situation, I know everybody talked about these figures a couple of months ago, where it turns out that we're paying more in benefit than we are receiving in tax from those that work. It is beyond my comprehension to think that something that I fervently believe in, let's help people who can't help themselves, happy to pay my tax, has now become a career choice. And every time we have this debate about welfare, which the government can't have because these MPs won't even allow them to knock 5 billion off a budget that's 300 and something billion a year, is that, yes, help people, but it's being gamed and it's being played. And people are expected to accept that they go to work and pay their taxes so that, what did I say the other day? 8 million claiming benefits. I'll be nice. 2 million of those 8 I would have very good money on. I'm not disabled, I'm not mentally ill. I'm afraid a lazy infectus. And what am I probably different to your party is we have open borders that seems to say since Blair was in power, come and do the jobs, come and be hospital porters, come and be this, that. Hold on a second, I'd stop that. I'd say to those 2 million people, this is for your benefit as well. You're going to get out of bed, you're going to give something back to your community, you're going to get something on your CV, and you're going to give something back for the money that we're paying whilst you're looking for work. It's beyond me. Since COVID, you don't even have to go for an interview. It's just not how I was brought up. Aspiration, desire, commitment, wanting to work, wanting to provide for your family. What happened? We wiped the backside of too many people and they take advantage. And now you can come and have all of that to the detriment of people who are working. That's not far right. That's not radical. That's just common sense, isn't it?
You are so right. And the one thing I can tell you, hand on heart, that Prime Minister Farage, Chancellor Jenrick, right, all of us, every decision that we will make every day on behalf of the British people will begin with the following. We are borrowing money to be able to spend in the economy. We're paying 120 billion a year to service that debt. So before we make any decision on spending, right, whether it's on overseas aid or on the people who want to come and live here but are still claiming benefits and they're not British, before we make any of those decisions, right, the first question we ask ourselves is, we're borrowing this money, and therefore where should we be spending it on behalf of the British people? That has to be the central tenet of everything we do. Why? Because if we're running a surplus, you could be much more generous. You can say, you know what, I will look after other people can't look after themselves elsewhere. Charity doesn't have to just begin at home, but we don't have the money.
No.
Right? The economy is in a bad way. Until we fix it, let's make sure every penny we spend is spent properly on behalf of the British people, on the British people.
Nadim, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Great to have you on. Thank you so much indeed. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend. Nadim Zahawi, former Chancellor of the Exchequer at 7:25. Bank holiday Friday morning. JK on breakfast, the home of common sense. You're waking up to the news that Makerfield, where Andy Burnham's taken on a host of candidates, has lost its Green candidate overnight. He's resigned before it's even started. And Keir Starmer has announced that he is going there to campaign. Why? No idea. Maybe it's just a conspiracy, but maybe he's going there to screw Burnham over. I've no idea. Rayner embroiled, it says in the Telegraph, in a row linked to alleged electoral fraud in her local council. And it's official, ladies and gentlemen. Toilets and change rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex. Guidance, says the Equalities Watchdog, although we've found an issue with that. And breaking news overnight, police now investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over potential sex crimes. So much more to come. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Breakfast. Is Brian new? Morning, Bri.
Good morning, Jezza. Good morning, Alarm Clock Britain. What a lovely sunny Friday morning. Brian here. Now, we must accept that the Makerfield by-election is going to be a two-horse race. If it was run on Jockey Club rules, Keir Starmer would be banned for life for nobbling his own horse. Just saying. Cheers, mate.
Conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:30. It's a beautiful bank holiday weekend. There's a spring in my step. I'm very happy this morning. It's on 2 hours of sleep. Went to a UNICEF thing last night. Bill says, morning, Jez, they should send Andrew to the States and let the FBI grill him. He ain't ever setting foot in the States. Let me tell you, Prince Andrew, or whatever his name is, ain't going there. Yes, also, response to this story about, gender toilets and changing rooms. I was just saying before the break, it's a bit odd. The government finally, under Bridget Phillips, and yesterday saying changing rooms and toilets must be used on the basis of biological sex. But then she added the caveat that you cannot challenge a transgender person if they try and use a female toilet. So, although I sort of was sitting here thinking that's a victory for common sense, the loophole is that a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to go into a female toilet, but if you see them doing it, you're not allowed to complain. Weird. Jez, since when has the toilet in this country become a restroom? You don't go in there for rest, you go in for a 1 or a 2. Oh, I love the quality of the people who listen to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. Thank you. Oh, hello, lots of people. Yes. If a trans woman kept winning the ladies' 100 metres at the Olympics, no one would watch and money would flood out of the sport, harming all athletes. Can't people see that? Yeah, of course. And also, it's really simple to me. That's not fair on female athletes, is it? Sharon Davis has always taught me that. Jason in Pompey, 18 months and they're still tiptoeing around what should be a simple, clear instructions. No ladies with penises in women's sports and women's spaces. Trans guidance done. The new guidance, Sam says, for trans, says we can't ask them if they're male, but it doesn't say we can't tell them to leave. We can see if they're men, we don't need to ask. Interesting. Phil in Coventry, no, sorry, Pete from Gatwick. With regards to single-sex toilets, what about the motorway service toilets where a female cleaner comes in with a bucket and mop, cleans the floor whilst men are at the urinal, seen it and she cops an eyeful? I think that's morally wrong. Right, OK, well, I don't quite know what to say about that. She cops an eyeful whilst mopping the floor. 7:30, morning, Debbie.
Hi, Jeremy. It was about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. A message through, and I was cheeky. I asked if I could have a mug. You promised I'd get one sent out, and you asked me to phone in and give my address, which I did. I'm just checking because my daughter's laughing at me because I haven't received my mug. So I know everyone's busy, but I was just checking if anyone's forgot, or am I going to get my mug? Because I was so excited. I've been telling everyone about my mug I was getting. They're just laughing at me, telling me I'm not going to get it. I said, yep, I've even got the recording. Jeremy said I could have it. Anyway, loving your show, love you. I really hope you look forward to your glamping. It looks quite posh, so I'd definitely like that. Have a great holiday anyway. Not the same as going abroad though, is it?
It's all right. OK, so I don't... That's Debbie. I'm going to translate what Debbie said whilst the lot next door have literally collapsed. Debbie was promised a mug and hasn't received it. That's on you, Christian Mitchell. Why have you... Unless she's on the take and she's had one and she wants two. But to all the people, by the way, who are laughing at her family, shame on you. She's getting 2 mugs now, right? And if she doesn't, it's on Christian Mitchell. I'll give out his mobile number if you want. Secondly, yes, I am going glamping. This came out yesterday, OK? I'm going glamping next week. It's not funny, you big... I'm going with my children, my youngest kids who love it, with some families, and we sit there and it's lovely. Christian is going to Tuscany. As he said, in a building with a roof. I'm going to a tent. I'm also getting slaughtered by people who say another week off. Let me just explain something, OK? When I come back on June the 1st, my commitment is 12 straight weeks, but I have to do the half-term thing. I'm being a good dad, but no, I'm not looking forward to it. It'll be absolutely horrific. And as I thought it was going to be cold, I bought long johns, right? Now I'm going to be sweating like a... It's not funny, you lot. It's just... I'm frustrated by it all. Anyway, 0344 499 1000. That's my life. Glamping next week. Great story in The Sun today. Worrying story. Look at this. I'm a young Brit. Get me out of here. We hear today, I mean, this is extraordinary. Young Brits are turning their backs on the United Kingdom because of Starmer's high-tax UK. Net migration is at its lowest level in 5 years as 136 more Brits leave the country and go, frankly, it's crap here, I'm off for a better life. Here's a good man, former immigration minister, former Conservative MP. How many of them are there? Kevin Foster, a very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. How are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Not too bad. Just trying to get the image of you in long johns out my head. But anyway.
There you go. What an image that's not. Can I just have your view on glamping, my friend? Glamping's a good idea, isn't it? With the kids, nature at its best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great you're supporting the UK's tourism industry by doing so as well. You know, we've seen hospitality take plenty of hits, so it's good to be promoting that, you know, you can go and have a great family break with your kids.
Can I just say, right, and you're a friend, can I just say, that sounded the most disingenuous answer I've ever heard. There's no way you like camping and you're like Christian, you'd go to a hotel. So would I. I'm trying to do the right thing.
I would, yeah.
Kev, listen, you were the immigration minister. We talk all the time about, you know, the fact our borders seem to be permanently open and people come to this country and sign on. Frightening also to think that thousands are flocking to Oz for a better life and to any country that doesn't seem to penalise you in your pocket.
Yeah, one of the things people don't sometimes realise about the net migration figures is the reason they're called net is they don't just tell you how many people are coming in, they tell you how many people are going out. And I think we saw in the recent figures, it was something like a minus 136,000 for UK citizens. So that's more UK citizens leaving, 136,000 more than perhaps have come back from being abroad, studying or working overseas. And it's not a surprise when you look at the fact that we've got 16% youth unemployment for those aged between 16 and 24. Housing's expensive. Energy's expensive. You know, for people to want to have the sort of life that many people rightly aspire to when they're in their late teens and 20s. Many are seeing, you know, that path to a place like Dubai where I think personal income tax just doesn't really exist, Australia and other countries. When you see at the same time, you know, industries like hospitality and retail, where they've traditionally got a lot of their first jobs, and, you know, I had my first job working for Granada TV Rental, if people can remember that one, in their warehouse.
Radio rentals.
shops.
Oh, my God. I remember when we got our first television. That was a rented one. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, people remember. I remember that was my first job. And then I worked in a bar while I was a student. Well, a lot of those sectors are really being hit. So people are starting to look at, you know, what are their opportunities overseas? And before people instantly think, when I say about youth unemployment, I must be talking about like the Midlands, the North. Actually, one of the highest rates of youth unemployment is in London.
Yeah.
Again, where also property prices are punishing.
Do you want me to be really honest? And I'm 60, and obviously if I had no kids and I've got 104 of them, if I was 25, 26, I got myself a degree, I had no kids, I'd absolutely, sorry, this is terrible, and I'm a traditionalist and a poacher, I'd leave this country. I would absolutely leave this country right now. I don't, you know, as much as I love this country, I just feel there's too much that goes against, you know, wanting to stay and fight and be committed and believe you can make a future. Maybe that's negative, but I think there's too much bad news, Kev. There's too much bad news.
Yeah, you can see, Jeremy, why, say, someone aged 24, 25, who'll be looking at the fact that, on average, they'll be in their late 30s before they can buy a house. Whereas I go back one generation to my father, who worked as a painter labourer in Devonport Dockyard. He bought his first home aged 25. Now, the average today is about 36, 37, and that will mostly include people in perhaps slightly higher salary brackets than my dad's job would now be in. So you look at that, you look at levels of taxation, you look at issues around business, and you look at things like, you know, the big growth industries like AI and tech. Well, there isn't a European version of Google, and there isn't a British one either. And whilst we're starting to see some changes, you know, there's many people are starting to look overseas and seeing what the opportunities there are. And of course, British passport holders are generally welcomed in most migration systems. Actually, in some countries, we have a lower average crime rate than the domestic population. So many people going overseas are actively welcomed by the countries that they go to. And yeah, as I say, but ultimately it's the tax rate, what it costs you to heat your house, if you even need to, if you can move it to somewhere like Dubai, and then what the wider opportunities are, ultimately what tax you pay. And, you know, this is where you see the impacts of decisions like putting up national insurance contributions.
Couldn't agree more, my friend. Really good to catch up with you. Thank you. And just very quickly, as the ex-immigration minister, ex-Tory MP, what do you make of Starmer heading to Makerfield to campaign for the very man who's only standing in Makerfield so he can win a seat to come back to Westminster to get Starmer out of a job?
Well, it's one of the most bizarre by-elections I've ever seen. I can't imagine Keir Starmer showing up is going to help Andy Burnham. But, you know, you just look at it and you think, so you're going to vote Labour, you know, Keir Starmer's party, the one he leads, to guarantee getting rid of Keir Starmer, whereas potentially if another party wins, Keir Starmer might stay on. You know, a few of us have joked, you know, if you see a guy going around with like a sort of pulled up raincoat and a hat and glasses campaigning for reform. That's probably Keir Starmer delivering leaflets. But it's weird. But what a farce. We're talking, about $250,000 of taxpayers' money being spent on this by-election. And if Andy Burnham wins, we can see another 4.7 million spent on a mayoral by-election, all because of rows in the Labour Party.
And if he wins, you're talking about 76,000 people in this country effectively deciding who the next Prime Minister is. I have a problem with any party that thinks a person could take over and become Prime Minister. I've absolutely said this. As a Conservative, ex-Conservative MP, one final question. Do you believe there's a clamour for the smaller parties, Restore, not the Greens, obviously, but the Tories to stand aside? Again, nothing that I'm favouring. I think the democratic process should follow its feet, and you should be able to pick and choose. Thoughts on that quickly, pal?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's another by-election going on where it's straight Conservative SNP, where Reform are standing. Some people calling for Conservative Party to stand aside haven't done the same in relation to the other by-election that's happening. But no, for voters should have a choice. Voters can make their choice. They can all see the arguments being made and the implications of their vote in terms of the choice they make. But as I say, there'll be plenty up in Makerfield who'll be, one, surprised to see just how much attention they're now getting, and two, thinking, 2 years ago they elected an MP who didn't see it as a great honour, and it is an honour to be elected to Parliament, because less than 2 years later he stepped down and said, would you mind having a mate instead? And that's what I think is the really difficult thing of this, is that it just shows trying to treat a seat like a commodity, and that's something that I deeply dislike as someone involved in politics. It's that break of trust with the electorate.
Good man, great to have you on. Kevin Foster, former Immigration Minister, thank you very much indeed. 20 minutes to 8, we're live across the United Kingdom. Talk Breakfast is on. We're going to go, are we going to a call or a break? You decide, boss man. We're what? We're going to a caller. Let's go to Hertfordshire. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. How are you?
How you doing, bad? Great show as always.
Hello, how am I doing, bad boy, did you say?
No, I said great show. You're doing great.
Oh, you're a lovely man, but don't worry, I'm on the way out. Charlie, never mind. What?
Right, so the first thing is, do you think Starmer's going to cut there on purpose to scupper his chances?
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's got nothing to do with the Labour Party. I think it's to do with him, knowing how unpopular he is, and as thick-skinned as he is, he'll go up there, canvass him, thinking that people are going to say, well, if Andy Burnham's a part of him, I don't want anything to do with it.
I think power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I don't think there's any politician the length and breadth of the world that wants to give up being Prime Minister. And here's the thing that might surprise you. There's still a chance, still a chance is the wrong way to describe it. If Burnham loses that seat, Starmer survives. So there's all to play for him. But in fact, what Kevin Foster's said is right. A vote for Labour is a vote to get rid of Starmer, who's the Labour Prime Minister. It's bizarre and weird, isn't it?
Well, I just find the whole thing... I mean, I can remember my granddad years ago used to talk about politicians who looked up to them. Now it's just a joke.
No, I completely agree. You said that was the first thing. What's the second thing?
And the second thing is I loved what Rachel Reeves got herself caught in yesterday.
Oh, listen, when she was at the petrol station.
Oh, that was absolute gold.
It was TV gold at its best. Here's a woman who hasn't been seen for weeks, but now suddenly is everywhere. Station forecourts, Downing Street, saying, I will be the Chancellor. They're all fine now. Listen, they're like rats in a sack. You'll see all the cabinet ministers go up to Makerfield now because they'll be thinking, if I haven't campaigned for Andy and he wins, I'm not going to get a job. Then they go down south to a cabinet meeting and sit round a table with a bloke that they're trying to oust. It's bizarre. Good man. Thank you, Andy. Let's go to a voice note on the way to the break. Dan in, not in Makerfield, on Makerfield. Write it correctly, Jez, for God's sake. Dan.
Good morning, Jezzo. It's Dan from Kent. Happy Friday. So we've got a local lad in Makersfield, a plumber, taking on the biggest job of his career, stopping a massive drip. And then the biggest tool in Labour's political toolbox, a spanner, will be coming down to Makersfield to throw himself into the Burnham machine to stop it. You couldn't make it up. Great show.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, it's 8:15. Welcome back to Talk Breakfast. Somebody sent a photograph of me with a glass of red wine and a fag sat outside a tent. Who sent that to you? My wife, did you say? It's very weird. Glamping. Yes, I'm going next week glamping with my children. It's half term. And Peter's completely ruined they're all laughing at me here. Why are you doing that? Because my kids like it, right? Glamping. Ah, yes. A nice old bit of cow dung and sheep poo to sleep next to. Not only that, Jez, you'll be warmed up by the heat wave. What a fantastic aroma you'll enjoy for the whole week. Yeah, honestly, by Monday afternoon, I want to come. Shut up, Christian. He's got a face like a... And they're laughing at me. God. Let's say hello and a very good morning briefly to the political editor of The Independent, who'll probably laugh at me as well. David Maddox, good morning. Glamping for you, yes or no, my friend?
I'm more of a secret caravaner, actually.
Ooh, are you?
Glamping, so, yeah.
Have you got a caravan?
I've actually got a caravan, yeah.
Have you got the sticker, don't come knocking while the caravan's rocking? Have you got that on the side? No?
No, not yet, no.
Good man. You see, David Maddox has got a caravan. My wife wants one of them. David, you were, of course, the journalist who, several months ago, back when, alerted Number 10 to the fact that Mandelson did not pass his MI6 vetting for the US ambassadorial role. And I just wanted to grab you this morning about really this whole government, and because we were watching Starmer this morning walking up Downing Street without a tie on, and we were watching him yesterday talk about how he is going to go to Makerfield to campaign for Andy Burnham, who's standing simply to become an MP so he can come to London and take Starmer's job. Starmer looked to me like the shackles were off, and it's the first time I've sort of seen him smile, whether he knows it's all over. But, I mean... what are they up to as the country is floundering economically? It's a disgrace, isn't it?
I mean, it's completely falling apart. I think, to be fair, Starmer's just still enjoying Arsenal winning the Premier League. I mean, he's had a smile on his face ever since that happened. And, yeah, maybe there's... he just feels like he can just relax now, and because there's nothing much he can do to stop the inevitable from happening. I mean,
is there though? Just hear me out. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, Burnham's a shoo-in." What about if Burnham doesn't win the constituency? And everybody says he probably will. I don't know. We'll just report it as it happens. But what if he doesn't win the constituency? His political career's over. Starmer would be Wes Streeting. If Burnham doesn't get to Westminster, maybe there'll be another, I don't know, maybe an Angela Rayner, although she's been embroiled this morning. Maybe Miliband will. I've no idea. But you think he's a gone or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think he's done. I mean, if Burnham... Actually, I think it's 50-50 on Burnham. I don't think it's a shoe-in at all. I know he's a bookie's favourite to win that, but it's 50-50 on him.
I think in terms of Burnham, I think in terms of Burnham, he has the profile. I think he's obviously got the Manchester connection. But I'll tell you one thing, and you're a political journalist, I wasn't that impressed with that interview last weekend when he was sort of scuppered on the EU and said politics is difficult. I didn't see conviction politicians screaming at me through the camera.
Well, he's not a conviction politician, and he doesn't like to be pinned down on anything. So, you know, anyway, I mean, he's a favourite to win, but it's not going to be easy for him at all. I mean, certainly, I've been listening to your callers about why Keir Starmer might be going up, and I have to say I kind of agree with them. But you know, it's not going to exactly help Burnham's case if Starmer's knocking the door for him. But we'll see. I mean, if Burnham doesn't win, there'll be total chaos in the Labour Party, but there will be a leadership contest, and we'll probably end up with somebody like Angela Rayner. Although this business in Tameside with
front page of the Telegraph if you're waking up today. Rayner in election fraud row. Tell us a little bit more about that, bud.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all allegations at the moment, but arrests have been made. For you know, the Manchester Mill, one of the local publications up there, did an investigation and found that, found out, you know, looked into allegations that fake independents were being put up to split the vote, to allow a Labour councillor to win, and it was actually the only Labour councillor to win, who happened to be close to Angela Rayner. Obviously, sort of ongoing investigations and all that, nothing's been proved, but it does feed into this kind of image of corruption around politics, which isn't going to help at all. So, it's another question mark over her. But, if not her, it's West Streeting or Ed Miliband, probably, which both come with their own problems, in terms of the Labour Party. I mean, Ed Miliband in particular, a man who lost an election in 2015, suddenly been imposed on us without an election as Prime Minister would look really, really bad, I think.
I don't think any politician should be imposed as a Prime Minister without a mandate. Some people would argue, of course, there's a mandate, but Starmer was front and centre. Listen, David, really good to speak. Now you're going to take your caravan out for the bank holiday weekend?
I'm waiting for the summer.
It's going to be warmer next week.
Some of us are working still,
Mate, let me be honest with you, David. Don't tell anybody this. I'd rather bloody well come to work than go glamping, if I'm being completely honest. I'm only trying to con myself. Thank you very much indeed. Top man, we love him. David Maddox from The Independent. Let's say a very good morning. Right, listen. Bank holiday weekend, the getaway. Do you have to read out, today there'll be 130-mile tailbacks of traffic because everybody's got to get there early. There's only one man to ask. He is the travel correspondent that just espouses brilliance. Oh, no, we can't have him. We'll say a very good morning. Where is he? Simon Calder. Where are you, man?
Oh, I'd love to say I'm on the south of France and I'll meet you at the airport tonight when you fly out, but it's not like that. I'm at London King's Cross Station, which is one of the places where you are going to see maximum rail disruption over this weekend. The East Coast Main Line, which is the flagship link from here at London King's Cross to Yorkshire, to North East England, to Scotland, that is going to be closed on Saturday, Sunday and Monday, just north of York. I don't know, Jeremy, if you happen to run a rail replacement bus operation, but this is going to be like Christmas for you because you've got rail replacement buses between York and Darlington, across in heading from England to Wales through the Severn Tunnel. That's going to be dug up, not just this weekend, but all the way through to the 8th of June. Various other bits of work across the Pennines and, for example, the main north-south line through London, that's going to be closed, forcing more and more people onto the road with their caravans or without them. And I tell you what, normally bank holiday weekends, they are really quiet on the Sunday, big, and to go on the Friday or Saturday, come back on the Monday. But this week, because it's the Premier League last day, and they all kick off at 4 o'clock, you are going to see there's all manner of congestion, hundreds of thousands of football fans on the move as well. Right.
First of all, I was at King's Cross twice this week. Bloody nightmare. Secondly, of course you'll be in the south of France because you are, you have some life. And I know what you've done this morning. I sit in King's Cross and everybody feels sorry for me. What are you doing talking about football? Are you a football fan, Calder?
No, I support Crawley Town.
Precisely. You know nothing about football. You've wound me right up, haven't you? Because as a West Ham fan, terrified about Sunday, but there we go.
Yes.
Planes away, roads away, rail away. I mean, it's a Mediterranean heat wave, which brings with it its own problems. And, the advice always is take your time. I mean, because it's ludicrous, isn't it, a bank holiday on the roads in this country?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, because we do, as you will have noticed, like to be beside the seaside. There's a lot of people who perhaps aren't flying this weekend, partly because they've been put off by the prospect, which is completely misplaced, of fuel shortages, also because of the problems with the entry-exit system, and things are getting quite lively at the port of Dover already this morning when you get checked before you actually get onto your ferry. And so, as a result, yes, it's going to be people thinking, it's sunny, let's jump in the car and go to the seaside. And that way, I'm afraid, misery lies. I
live by the seaside and we go away because everybody arrives to the beach, so I don't want to be there.
Of course they do. And look, as always, the message is start really early or leave your journey until late. That does not apply if you happen, for example, to be coming back from Brighton on Sunday. They are not only half of London want to be in Brighton, but also half of Manchester does, because United are away to Brighton.
What are you doing with this football stuff? Right, Calder,
I'm just telling you.
You're trying to be professional and it's working. You're making me look useless. Right, Calder, final question, no messing. Ready? This is an important question. Glamping, camping, caravanning, yes or no for you?
Absolutely not, unless I am in the Himalayas and there is no alternative in the shape of a budget hotel.
Brilliant. OK, thank you very much indeed. So me spending next week in a tent with my children is not great, then?
It possibly will be. Possibly will be.
Good. I hope you get
I wish
stuck.
you every success.
Yeah, well, I don't. I hope you get stuck wherever you're going. Top man, we love him. Simon Calder, the world's greatest travel expert, saying wherever you're going across this bank holiday weekend, there's a heat wave, Mediterranean weather, better than the Maldives and the Med. Leave early, honestly, because it's a nightmare. But people leave at 2 a.m. I mean, I was going home once on a bank holiday from work, and people look at Tommy's face. They leave that early. They're organised. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. So in the next hour on The Breakfast Show, Lord Daniel Hannon, Conservative peer and former advisor to the UK Board of Trade, will talk more about everything in the news. We'll talk about the Makefield constituency, Rayner, election fraud, allegedly, that advice, biological sex, this is so important. Toilets and change rooms, biological sex, that's going to be thrown up in all sorts of different instances. Loads of people on the show as well. We'll do more on the Royals after the news that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is being investigated over potential sex crimes. All going on. This is Talk Breakfast. We'll say a very good morning to Phil.
Good morning, Jeremy, on this beautiful sunny day. Phil, part of the Alarm Clock Round. OK, the issue with the transgenders, just put a sign on the door. Biological men only. And on the other, biological women only. You're not telling them. You're not actually challenging them, should I say. You're just saying this is for biological men and biological women only. And then surely if they choose to go in of their own accord, they're contravening that. Nobody's challenged them. They were just told and guided.
Conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. Welcome along or welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom on Talk Breakfast. It's the home of common sense. Hurrah! It's where the nation comes to have their views heard on the news of the day. So much you're waking up to if you want to be involved. 0344 499 1000. It's our telephone number. You can ring. You can do a voice note for our Christian, the editor to beat all editors. It says here. Also, you can text the show 87222. Start your message, please, with the word talk. Tommy strides into Studio 1 with a nice cup of cha. Thank you very much indeed. What are you waking up to? Well, this extraordinary story developing about the Makerfield constituency. You'll know that when we broadcast, when there's a by-election, we have to be straight down the line. The facts that have come out overnight is Burnham obviously standing for Labour. He says, I want to change Labour. I want Starmer out. Overnight, we hear that Starmer's actually going to go and campaign in Makerfield for Labour. So you've got a Prime Minister supporting a man 200 miles north of London who wants to come back to London and take his job. Also this morning, news that the Green candidate, who was announced yesterday morning, don't know his name, he resigned last night after 11 hours and 43 minutes because there's some historical social media posts. So we'll keep you updated. Burnham, though, expected to include streeting in his future cabinet. Forgive me, I'm just being straight. He's getting ahead of himself, isn't he? I could be wrong. Angela Rayner, front page of The Telegraph. You might be waking up to this story. Rayner in election fraud row. We have to be careful here, but seems that 5 people have been arrested in her constituency, Ashton-under-Lyme. Claims of fake council candidates who stood as independents split the vote, and it was the only one seat, I think, out of 13 in Thameside that Labour won. The police looking into that. That's very, very interesting. We heard the breaking news earlier on this morning that the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is now being investigated for potential sex crimes. Detectives keen to speak to a woman who claimed that she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor, Royal Lodge, for serious or for sexual purposes. So God knows where that ends, and so many people having a say on that. We'll talk about how toilets and changing rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex guidance, says the Equalities Watchdog. Although, Bridget Phillipson, if you are listening, I thought you completely confused everybody yesterday, but you probably did it because you're pandering to everybody. Basically, common sense says, men, women pretend to be whatever, biological men, biological women. So we found a bit of a loophole because the guidance has said that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are before they use the toilet. So basically, a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to use a female toilet. But if you see a man dressed as a woman trying to use a female toilet, you're not allowed to challenge them, which just about sums up why this country's on its backside. And also a report this morning which talked about net migration. Lots of young people are so fed up with Starmer's Britain and high tax, they're buggering off and leaving because they'd rather be in other places like Dubai or Australia, or if you're Mo, our next voice note, somewhere else altogether. Morning, Mo.
Morning, Jezza. Great show. Mo here from Devon, 60 years old, and we've decided that we are off to El Salvador. We've got to leave this place. It's just not good for our kids. So we're out of here, man. Enjoy your glamping. Cheers.
Sorry. I sort of understand Dubai and I understand Oz. El Salvador. Interesting. I can't imagine anybody going to package holiday to El Salvador, but listen, Mo, good man. Let's say a very good morning. Oh, let's actually read this very quickly. Daniel Jez, why can't the King step in and dissolve Parliament? Does he not care about the country? Constitutional monarchy, God. Starmer will be like a football chairman giving his back into a bad football manager he wants to get rid of. The kiss of death, him going to Makerfield, says Peter. Morning, Mick. Starmer is D-Mop happy and has probably secured a new job in an international role on a lot more money and a lot less hassle. Jezza, not another holiday, surely, says Sandra in Hampshire. Been camping, never made glamping, but you are, JK, you enjoy. Yeah, taking the mickey. Will be fun to hear what Starmer actually says on the by-election doorsteps. Hope Talk TV has a microphone to hand. Hello, are you going to vote Labour? No, sod off. We're not interested. Thank you. Starmer is going to support Burnham so that he doesn't win and he remains Prime Minister. Mary in Suffolk. Love the show. She's very kind. Chris. Hello, Jeremy. You mentioned earlier about younger people leaving the country to go abroad. Bet they will return when they're older and may require health care. These people will be another group who wouldn't have paid a penny into the system but will demand the service paid for it by others. I think we need a fair system where you get back what you pay in for. Common sense, who knew? Young British people are on the whole not lazy. they can't get jobs due to Labour and it's employee national insurance, Pete. I'm not saying that all young people are lazy, and I never have. We have some people on the dole, a couple of million in my humble opinion, who have got used to the fact that we're wiping their backsides, and these people should be forced to give something back. I know there are many, many young people with good qualifications and the work ethic who cannot even get an interview, and I genuinely accept that. But I do think we need to be looking at welfare. I just think it's fundamentally wrong. And Dilesh from Elstree, thank you so much indeed for your involvement on the toilet situation. Toilets and change rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex guidance, says the Equalities Commission. And Dilesh says, what toilet would Starmer use, as I think he has absolutely no balls. 8:10. Brilliant. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show says, a very good morning to the independent peer, incoming director of the Institute of Economic Affairs, Lord Daniel Hannon. Morning, Daniel.
Good morning to you, my dear Jeremy.
Oh, God, I don't understand much as I get older. Starmer, Makerfield, we have to be straight down the line because you know when an election is live. He is going to campaign in a constituency for a man who's standing on a ticket to take his job. Now, he's either far cleverer than any of us are giving him, and he's actually going up there to sabotage it, or he's clearly that thick-skinned that he is utterly deranged. Thoughts, Daniel?
It's a very good question. He's hedged, isn't he? Yep. You've got to be careful because of the broadcasting rules. I've got to be careful because I'm running a non-partisan think tank, and my party opinion glands were cauterized in a painful operation recently. But I think there is something very funny about Wes Streeting and now Keir Starmer making all these noises about rejoining the EU, forcing Burnham, who kind of agrees with them, into this position of having to say, yeah, but not right now, because they know how badly that goes down on the doorstep in Makerfield and in constituencies like Makerfield all across Northern England.
I couldn't agree more. And I was saying, Daniel, last week I saw an interview that Burnham did at the weekend with ITV, and I was expecting, I'm being completely honest, I was expecting a politician who was full of conviction and had a plan. He was already backtracking on the EU. He was already backtracking on transgender toilets and changing rooms arguments. And when asked, he said, yeah, politics is difficult, isn't it? And I was frankly a little bit amazed, because if you're putting yourself out there to come down to win a seat, to come to London, to become the next Prime Minister, you are going to open yourself up. There seem to be so many politicians, and I'll name Zach Polanski because I'm going to balance this out, who seem to think, and I'm afraid I think it's probably, you know, more often happens than we think. Polanski is what? Going to get where? People are going to turn the camera lights on you, and they're going to turn it on Andy Burnham. They're going to turn it on all of these candidates, and they have to make sure that they've got answers. And I'm not sure. I'm not anti-Andy Burnham or pro-Andy Burnham. I wasn't blown away by him, and he did fail to be the leader twice of the Labour Party. I think people need to get real about the whole situation.
It's fascinating to me, this, Jeremy, because why did Keir Starmer waltz into that job? Why did he become Labour leader? I think it's because no one really knew very much against him, right? Yeah. He hadn't said anything outrageous. He seemed presentable enough. He critically wasn't his predecessor. He wasn't Jeremy Corbyn. And people didn't really therefore look very hard. They just said, well, that'll do. He seems all right. He seems mild enough. Doesn't seem to be any obvious outrageous problem. And I can now see them, incredibly, making exactly the same calculation. So what does Andy Burnham stand for? It doesn't really matter. He seems nice enough. He's presentable. He's kind of, you know, he looks okay. He hasn't done anything outrageous. And again, he's not his predecessor. He's not Keir Starmer. And I kind of feel we ought to be setting the bar a little bit higher, especially if you're auditioning for the job, which will mean that you go straight into being Prime Minister without any practice period as leader of the opposition.
I'm also very strong on this, and I'd love your view as an independent peer and somebody who understands, you know, the political system far better than me. You'll probably disagree. I find it fundamentally wrong and flawed, if you like, for somebody to stand in a general election and earn the mandate from the British people. I know it's party politics, but it is, I'm afraid, centred on the leader. It is, that's a fact. The Tories wouldn't have won unless Johnson had been there, and you can argue that for others. But to then just be able to accede to the throne without standing in front of the British people, much as I don't think you can defect to a party without standing in the constituency. I don't think the British people will stomach that, Daniel. I don't.
Well, let me put it like this. I think in retrospect, the last Conservative government made a huge mistake by twice changing leader without going back and asking people for permission. And it just, people feel taken for granted. It's like, you know, we important MPs are going to decide who your prime minister is going to be, and you little people will lump with, you know, you'll put up with whatever we give you. And I think in retrospect, that was a huge error, to get rid of Boris and then to get rid of Liz Truss without any election. I think it partly explains why the Tories did so badly. It wasn't the only reason, but it was part of it. I suspect, actually, that Labour has internalised that lesson. My guess is that if there is a change of leadership in the next few weeks, that the new leader will get a little bit of a honeymoon.
Yeah.
And will probably, I mean, I think it would be the right thing to do democratically for the reason you just gave, but I also think it would probably be the right thing for a Labour leader to do from a party political point of view, from their own perspective, because we know that there's got to be a budget in November. We know that there's no money to give away, that on the contrary, there are going to have to be cuts. No prime minister, but especially not a prime minister from the centre-left, likes having to make savings. You know, a Labour government with no money to give away is kind of in a greater difficulty than other parties. So I think there will be, I think if Burnham wins the by-election and then goes on and becomes PM, my money would be on an election this year. I think that would be the obvious thing for him to do.
But I'm not wrong when I say I'm not wrong when I say this, am I? I mean, I said this about they can't win. The Labour Party after the last 2 years, whether it's Burnham or Starmer, as it stands, can't win. I mean, they might cobble together some left-wing alliance. I don't know, but I don't see a honeymoon period or a bounce. I mean, here's the thing. As you said, he's either accused of taking over the Starmer crown by winning Makerfield and doing nothing. Well, it's a bit of personality, not much in my humble opinion. Or he lurches to the left to placate all the socialists, and the British public are going to go, that's not what we voted for. In any which I see a sort of vacuum. I really do. But I'm not. I was massively surprised at how ineffectual I thought Burnham was. And again, when the Tories messed it up and Labour came in, I'm a patriot, I wanted it to work. It's been seismically appalling the last 2 years. I mean, I didn't think anybody could trump what the Tories had done in 14 years, but Starmer's managed that. But I don't know about you. If you watched him the last couple of days, he looks like the hackles are off.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as you say, Andy Burnham has lost twice. It's a little bit like Kamala Harris, right? She had already lost. She'd done terribly in the primary election, just as Andy did. And yet they pushed her forward anyway with cataclysmic results from a party point of view. But in terms of who would win the election, I actually think that's harder to predict than it's ever been, because we've gone from a 2 or 2.5 party system to effectively a 5-party system. Reform is a little bit ahead, and then all the others are bunched together at around about sort of 18, 19, 20%. And that means that a couple of points swing from one party to another makes huge differences in terms of the seat projections. So I think it's very, very difficult to call who would win. You're probably right, Jeremy, that neither Labour nor indeed any other party at the moment could win an outright majority on their own. The polls would tend to suggest that whoever forms the next government, it'll be either a minority or a coalition. But I wouldn't even really say that with any great conviction, because things can change very quickly. And as I say, tiny changes will result in huge differences. So it's throwing all the pieces in the air. But if I were the incoming Labour leader, whether it's Andy Burnham or anyone else, it would take courage and it would be difficult, but it is the least bad option to do it now. And it's for the reason you gave, right? When they came in, there were all sorts of things that I think people were expecting that they could do that would be sensible, moderate, reformist things. They could reform the NHS. They could reform welfare. They had permission to do these things in a way that the Tories didn't do. They could have built more houses. They could have done, maybe they wouldn't have cut spending, but they could have done other things that would have stimulated growth. All of that has failed. They've taken the line of least resistance at every stage, and that's why we're in the mess we're in.
Quickly, Angela Rayner, I don't know if it's fair or not, has become embroiled in a row linked to an alleged electoral fraud in her local council, Thameside area. 13 seats in the local elections, 12 won by reform. In the one that Labour won, it turns out the investigation by the Daily Telegraph, there it is, 5 candidates stood as independents. There is some link, we believe, or the Telegraph believes, to Labour. There are pictures of Rayner with a couple, I think, of the candidates. The Labour Party this morning saying no evidence has been presented of any Labour Party involvement in these allegations. Angela Rayner denies any involvement, but as somebody's just said, sorry, says Debbie, is that the Rayner who's just finished one scandal with HMRC and straight into another one, and she thinks she should be in the cabinet? These people are nuts.
Well, I would say only this, and you might think this is going to be a very pompous thing to say, but the presumption of innocence is not a piety. And politicians don't forfeit it just because they've got themselves elected. So until we definitely know something against her, she is as entitled as anyone else to the presumption of innocence. And I'm not going to speculate.
No, and me. I just think it's quite an interesting story that the Telegraph have run with it. And I'm going to say something that probably sounds ridiculous. As all these rats in the Labour Party ship, I mean, you'll end up this conversation thinking I've lost the plot. I'm convinced that Burnham and Streeting got their heads together and Streeting stuck his head above the parapet. I don't think he ever had the 81. I think he's been promised a top job if Burnham gets in it. I think Angela had Burnham at his house. I still think she holds sway the desire to go for herself if he doesn't win it. I wouldn't put it past any of them to be briefing papers left, right and centre against each other. And do you know the most frightening thing, Daniel, in my mind? The only person we haven't heard from is, in my mind, the most dangerous man that could get that job, the net zero madman, Ed Miliband. Haven't heard a thing from him, which terrifies me far more than the rest of them by a mile.
Well, it is certainly the case, and you've been around politics long enough to know this, but your listeners might be astonished by the degree to which it is the case that whenever you read any story like that, it has always come from a colleague of yours in your own party.
Yeah.
Right? Any of these scandals, they're the people who... So, yes, I mean, I don't think Labour's got any kind of exclusive on this, but I'm sure that what you say is happening and that they're all manoeuvring in that way. I have to say, I think in terms of just my impression as a punter is Angela Rayner is probably a bit more presentable and human sounding than some of the other names. But Ed Miliband sounds like he's going to effectively be running the government anyway. Whether or not he's notionally Prime Minister, he's going to carry on as he is now, determining the key government policy. And, you know, if energy is the most expensive in the world, we are in real trouble. And one point that is often missed about this country, we are a heavily services dependent economy, much more than others, right? We do legal services, financial services, we have call centres. At lots and lots of levels, this is a white-collar email economy. And we are therefore much more vulnerable than other countries to the changes being brought in by AI. A lot of the jobs that we're doing are going to become obsolete remarkably quickly. Now, I'm not particularly worried about that in itself because new jobs will also be created. But what are those new jobs going to be? I think people in the service sector are going to largely move in one of two directions, either embracing AI and using it in new ways, or making stuff. Right? Those are the two clear directions. Now, what does manufacturing and AI? What do they have in common? They are both very energy thirsty, and as long as we have the most expensive industrial energy costs in the developed world, we're going to be a lot poorer. And it is incredible to me, given what's happening in the Gulf and the spike in the energy price, that we have a Prime Minister who is so frightened of Miliband or so flat-footed or whatever, that he's not prepared temporarily to lift the bans on drilling.
I'm so with you, and I do spend an awful lot of time sitting here thinking to myself, I don't know who advises these people. I'm convinced that most of our politicians not only lack conviction, but lacked the mental fortitude to look at something and go, that isn't a good idea, that's a winner. To me, it makes no sense fiscally, in any way, to say, right, we're paying £120 billion a year in interest on debts we can't even afford to pay off. We've got, to quote Trump, because I can't think of a better analogy, liquid gold under our own seabed, but we're not going to do it. And even more of a kick in the bits is that right next door Norway are literally drilling in the same field, and we're buying it off them as this mad zealot continues to believe that, you know, achieving... Somebody said to me once, the greatest line ever, Daniel, they went, you know, this net zero by 2030. And I went, yeah. He went, what happens when we get there?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it
The world will
sounds
be saved.
stupid, but that's true, right? What happens? We get a medal, and then they want something else? Doesn't make any sense. Before I go, you're a lord, you're a fantastic man. Glamping. I'm being humiliated. I'm taking my kids glamping next week in the sunshine. Glamping for you? No. Revolting.
Absolutely. My absolute nightmare. I've managed to get out of it. I've farmed out godparents and other people to take my children camping when necessary. I was in the cadet force at school. That was quite enough sleeping out of doors for me.
Right, I'm going to find some godparents and send the children on their own next week and come back to work. Daniel, Hannon, thank you very much indeed. Top man. Shaney, good morning.
Morning, Jez. Shane in Bournemouth. For the first time ever, as a working alarm clock Brit, I'm unable to get to work this morning because my vehicle ran out of fuel yesterday and I can't afford to put fuel into it. So Starmer, Burnham and the Labour government, they can all just sod off because they've hyped up the cost of living so much. I'm not the only person. There's a guy who comes into where I work. He can't afford to run his vehicle. It's everywhere now, and you've seen the prices of petrol around here, mate. It's pretty horrific, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think we're all stuffed now, aren't we? It's just going to start progressing that way. Anyway, have a good morning, mate.
Conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Honestly, if I could tell you the abuse, the dog's abuse I'm getting about going glamping next to it. All right, listen, I'm prepared to admit it. I don't want to. I can't think of it. Chris keeps going, do you know it's going to be 31 degrees? Under tarmac, or not tarmac, what's it called? Tarpaulin, canvas, whatever. Yeah, I do, yeah. Thanks very much. Tara, what will Jezza be wearing while she's away glamping? Johnny and Newquay. What tiara will Jezza be wearing? Oh, right, thank you, yes. Jez, if I'm in a public loo and a man walks in, I will tell him to leave, dress or no dress. I'm a woman and I'm not sharing with a man. End of, says Shirley in Newcastle. You don't want to bump into Shirley in effect. Absolutely not. Jez, our son saw the way the country was going 10 years ago. He moved to Australia and now has the second fastest growing business in Australia, turning over 15.5 million in 2 years. Brad and Sandra from Bicester, you should be really, really proud. Joanna in Salisbury, Phillipson came in with the final decision on transgender spaces just after Burnham said he was sympathetic to transgender as using women's spaces. She's a Starmer fan. Chrissy, I believe it's all about getting Andy Burnham in. That's why Starmer is going with a smile on his face. He must think the British people are stupid. Look, whatever the situation, we must repeat what we always say. There is a by-election taking place. It's the 18th of June in Makerfield in the Wigan area of the northwest rather. All the candidates will have an equal opportunity. Burnham, I think it's Robert Kenyon from Reform. The Green candidate, by the way, overnight resigning, so they'll be announcing another one. They're not standing somebody. I think the Tory candidate last stood there 29 years ago as well, the Liberal Democrats. And Restore, I think, are putting somebody up. I think it's really important, I said this earlier, that everybody gets a fair crack of the whip. But it is very, very interesting about how this is going to unfold, especially with today's news that Keir Starmer, the least popular Prime Minister in the history of Prime Ministers, has confirmed that he will go to Makerfield to campaign for his leadership rival, which, as many people have pointed out, means that we've now got a Prime Minister supporting a man that he's standing on a ticket to take his job. That sums up the United Kingdom, as does my next story. Toilets and changing rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex guidance, says the Equalities Commission. Hurrah, we all said. Common sense. It's taken a year for Bridget Phillipson, the Equalities Minister, to come out with this and accept it. But we found a loophole because the new guidance has said that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are before they use the aforementioned toilet or changing room. So now we have the situation where a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to use a female toilet. And I'll have the argument with anybody because I've got a teenage daughter. I'm not being disrespectful to what you want to be, what you are. I just don't want a man with a penis in a dress to undress in front of my 16-year-old daughter. But it means now that although they're not allowed to use that toilet, if you or I or anybody else sees one of a transgender person trying to, you're not allowed to challenge them because that's against the law as well. There's only one person to speak to, the Director of Campaigns at the excellent Sex Matters. Hey, Macarena, Fiona Macarena, how are you? Good morning.
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. And you lot always put this into perfectly obvious terms to me. Am I wrong? We've now got a situation where a man dressed as a woman is not allowed to use a female toilet, but if you do see them doing it, you're not allowed to challenge them at all. It's ludicrous.
Well, let's just celebrate first the fact that we finally have this guidance, and all those people who were saying, oh, no, I'm not going to follow the law, I'm not going to act on the Supreme Court judgment, I'm waiting for guidance, they have no excuse anymore. We've been through this guidance with some care, Jeremy. It does say you can challenge, and it does say you can ask someone to leave, but it says it very cautiously. It's buried deep in there. But, you know, what we would say is if someone doesn't want to be challenged because they're in the wrong facilities, don't go in. You know, the problem we've got here is that people are no longer confident that when they go into a single-sex facility that there won't be, that's meant to be women only, there won't be a man in there. And if men would stop going in there, then no one would be challenged, would they? So I think the guidance, it does say, it says you have to be respectful and careful and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is it's pretty clear that we are now returning to some kind of common sense, and we welcome that. And it's not just toilets and changing rooms, it's other important things like single-sex association, so lesbians can have their lesbian nights again, and dating apps without being forced, being confronted by men who claim to be lesbians. It's sport, which is a huge area. It's, you know, it's everywhere where someone has said, look, sex really matters here. I need it to be women only or girls only, or even, you know, men only, boys only. And we can do that confident that the law backs us.
Can I ask, the reason that I always turn to Sex Matters are because you lot know so much and you always put it so well. So the guidance from the Supreme Court was that, you know, it should be based on biological sex. I get that. It's taken Phillipson a year. We picked up a loophole which you say isn't actually relevant, although you have to dig to find it. Male toilets, female toilets, disabled toilets. What's the answer to the transgender debate? Is it they should have their own toilet? What is common sense as the answer to this? Because it's not going away.
No, and the vast majority of people, you know, 99% of people are male or female and happy to use those toilets. And what we're talking about here is how do we help a small percentage of people who know what sex they are and don't like it?
Yeah.
Now, the fact is they're still able to use the toilets of their sex unless a woman who's taken so much testosterone that she's grown a beard and looks like a man, clearly she's going to unsettle other women as she goes in the women's. So for those rare people who really should not or cannot use the facilities for their sex, there are generally unisex or accessible options. And, you know, disabled people will tell you life is hard if if you don't conform to the norms. It's more difficult. You have to plan. But nowadays, there's a lot more accessible and unisex provision than there used to be.
We talk about, you know, how common sense has prevailed. Phillipson is the Equalities Minister and the Education Minister. Do you think this was finally instigated by her in a begrudging way?
I think it's been very carefully vetted so that it is not likely to be challenged legally by anyone. So that because trans activists and trans people were told for years that they had rights they didn't have, and so they're finding it hard to stomach reality. But, you know, they never did have the right to go in the opposite sex changing rooms or facilities or sport. So I think it's been written, you know, very carefully to try and cover that off. And that's why that thing you picked up, Jeremy, is written like it is, I rather suspect. There's a sort of caution about challenging people because they know it won't be popular to say to someone, I'm sorry, but are you a woman? Should you be in here? But eventually it gets to the point which is you can do that. And what's more, you must do that because otherwise you're failing everyone else. If you do not keep men out of women's private spaces, then all those women are losing their privacy. And really we should be pointing to the individuals themselves and saying, you know what sex you are, you know the right thing. Do not impose where you're not supposed to be and where you know it makes other people uncomfortable. Couldn't agree more. Lovely, seriously, to have you on. Have a fantastic... Oh, just very quickly, don't you? Very quick. Camping, glamping, yes or no? Absolutely not. Nowhere where the bathroom is worse than your bathroom at home. Brilliant. OK, so I'm not going next week. My kids can go on their own with their godparents. Fiona McAnena, Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters. Thank you very much indeed. Dave, good morning. Brilliant.
Morning, Jezza. Dave from Hertfordshire here. I'd just like to say that this whole thing between Keir and Andy going up there in Macclesfield to promote, it's like they're playing political suicide. It's like they both got a shovel, they're both digging a hole for each other's political career, and they're going to see whose career goes in the hole first. And it's just absolutely insane. This is the only country where we can supply guns, bullets, and ammunition to the Ukraine to fight the Russians, and then pay the Russians to fire the bullets back. So then when the next fiscal crash comes along, we can go, it's because of the war in Ukraine. The what? You mean the war that we're funding? This government is absolutely insane. I mean, their policies are like a heart surgeon using a chainsaw, for crying out loud. But then when it comes to something that really matters to them, oh, we'll get the scalpel out and we'll just trim the edges just ever so slightly. Oh, and by the way, Charlie, your show should be called Rolling with Common Sense. Copyrighted that. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 22 minutes to 9 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. It is Friday, the 22nd of May. We're heading towards a bank holiday weekend. There's going to be a heat wave. It's going to be warmer than the Maldives and the Mediterranean. And nobody so far has said, Jez, taking your kids glamping is a good idea. I'm going to publicly admit I don't want to go. I'm going to farm them off somewhere with some, I don't know, their godparents. I'm going to jump on a plane with their mother, leave them on their own for 7 days. And it's not the way to do it, though. I've got to do the right thing. But if Christian comes into the studio anymore and says the aroma of sheep dung is going to be overpowering. Next, a lady who has become, I'm glad to say, a friend of this show, a lady who is and espouses more bravery than I as a parent could ever even begin to think of. The mother of victim Barnaby Webber, who was, of course, was stabbed to death last year in Nottingham. Emma Webber, good morning.
Hi, nice to see you again.
And you, camping? No.
Done it. Not a big fan.
Oh, God.
Smells funny.
She went, no way. God.
If I'm honest, yeah.
No.
Been there, done that. Compost toilets. No, thanks.
Thank you for compost toilets.
Yeah.
We've been following, you've been at this inquiry for months, weeks?
Yes, February 23rd.
And you are, and I'm out of superlatives. You know what I think? I think it's astonishing what you've done, and I hope that I could do an nth of that. We brought you in this morning because there was a shocking revelation from that inquiry yesterday. 11 NHS staff sacked for assessing medical records of the Nottinghamshire stabbing victims. Sorry?
Yeah.
What for?
Your face says it all. Bear in mind, we've been in a statutory public inquiry looking into failings across every single agency since February.
Yeah.
And those are police officers, psychiatrists, CPS, lawyers, people that just didn't do their jobs properly.
Everybody that let down
the three victims. And about what happened up to and after. What happened yesterday, the 11 members of staff that have been dismissed are from the Queen Medical Centre in Nottingham, and that's the Acute Hospital Trust, not the Mental Health Trust, and that's because 150 staff accessed records of Barney, Grace and Ian for the vast majority for no legitimate reason.
How do we? Sorry,
how do we know about it?
How do we know? And what in the name? Just off the top of my head, you know me. What, to sell a story to a newspaper? What?
No, I think it's abhorrent voyeurism. It's the worst form of rubbernecking, and it only came about because we as families insisted on an audit. I won't bore you with the whole backstory, but we were looking for an audit of who had accessed Callaghan's records in the Mental Health Trust because we wanted to see who did what when so we could see which doctors were treating. And that raised a red flag of accessing inappropriately, potentially. We then insisted that QMC did a full audit. 150 members of staff. They have now sacked 11. 14 have faced disciplinary and 12 of those are final warnings across all bands and levels.
I don't want to upset you. Barnaby was your son and you're incredible. But what? This number of people accessed his private records, what? To learn what happened to him, to look at photos. What are we talking about? To look at photos?
Basically, in the crudest possible way, they just were curious to see probably what fatal injuries he had suffered. The same with Grace and Ian. And it does...
Jesus, man.
But I think... What is striking is yesterday the headline 11 people sacked. Bear in mind this is people sacked for looking at somebody who has been killed records. Nobody yet has been held to account for the catalogue of failures in failing to treat, to manage, to detain, to arrest and to prosecute Callaghan properly.
You really make a good point, and I do this job as best as I can, and stuff comes to me as I do. There's no point in sitting down. So. And maybe I'm becoming more conspiratorial. 11 people were sacked for disgustingly looking at images.
Yeah.
Quite rightly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that to pave the way? Is that to soften the blow because they're not actually going to prosecute anybody over what anybody can see are cataclysmic failings? Because quite easy... By the way, the 11 staff, the 150, I'd bang them up, so I'd do more than so. No, I'm being completely serious.
It makes me feel sick.
But is it to grab the headlines so that there doesn't have... I don't know.
I don't know. Well, all I do know is that it comes quite timely because this week and last week we've been hearing from staff in that NHS trust, sorry, the other NHS trust, the Mental Health Trust, And it's striking, isn't it, that we've been hearing from them at the most senior level. We're talking non-executive chairman of the board, we're talking chief executives, we're talking, you know, people on upwards, £250,000 upwards of their salaries. And that's who we've been hearing from. No one's been held to account there yet, but I do think, does this pave the way to ensure that proper accountability happens across the other agencies? Yes.
And also, you could argue, could you not, and this is your life every single day, but sometimes in the nature of how the world moves, at the speed at which it moves with news, you think about the Middle East war, quite rightly we're talking about it.
Yeah.
When was the last time people talked as much about Ukraine and Russia as we used to at the beginning? Does this not actually put the story back into the public eye, which is also good, because that in itself could lead to pressure for, quite rightly, convictions or justification or whatever you call it,
There
right?
will be accountability, Jeremy, I promise you. For the individuals who did what they did and were announced yesterday, we will be taking further action, but we will not stop until the people who failed so grossly in stopping Calicane, because there are so many missed opportunities. I find that phrase actually almost offensive. Opportunities is a positive word, isn't it? But there were so many missed chances to stop him at so many levels, and no one at any level has been held to account for their failings. And I don't want to come across as a raging vindictive mum, but if you didn't do your job properly, then you are going to be held to account. At whatever level.
And the answer to that, and I'd stand right next to you in front of you and say, that's not going to ever bring your son back.
No.
And it's never going to take away the sheer horror of what happened to Barnaby and the other two. But you're right. If you're there and you've messed up, you are so right to follow this through. You know, you've been posting your daily thoughts
on my Twitter.
Really powerful. What's been the biggest and most shocking thing you've learnt in the weeks that you've been at this inquiry, Emma?
Oh God, there are so many. What I think has probably shocked us the most is hearing from the responsible clinicians who were responsible for discharging Calicane in September 2022. They sent a generic electronically mass letter to the GP practice of the Nottingham University, which has 44,000 students on their books. They didn't put his diagnosis in there, they didn't put any treatment, they didn't put that he'd been non-concordant with medication, that he'd been sectioned 4 times for serious assault, so there was an outstanding warrant for his arrest and the assault on. So they basically washed their hands of him.
What was their defence, though, of that?
They had exhausted all that they could do. They could do no more. He hadn't turned up for appointments. This is a dangerous person who isn't turning up for appointments, who they know doesn't take medication, and they know when he doesn't take medication, violent, awful things happen, not to himself. The risk is to others and to the public, and it was always going to happen. And we heard from Dr. Adrian James yesterday afternoon in the inquiry, and I almost walked out. I always call it the Jeremy Kyle pen drop. Oh. You do it. There you go. There's a pen drop. Told you. But I did yesterday afternoon because Adrian James is the mental health director for NHS England, and he came in and was talking about, he minimised what happened to Barney Grayson Ian yesterday by saying that it's a very, very small fraction of people who are mentally unwell who can go on to cause risk to others. The
doesn't matter if it's one.
It's harm to themselves. Do you know, it's 11% of homicides are carried out by people with serious mental illness. That's not a very small number. 100+ people a year are killed.
One's too big a number.
Yeah, but don't you come in, Adrian James, and you sit there and say things like, I don't want to minimise this, you know, recognise that you're sitting in front of families who have had their lives destroyed because the NHS failed to treat this individual and they didn't care enough and they didn't do the jobs properly. So don't you minimise it. Suicide and risk self-harm is dreadful. So is risk to others. If you haven't got public safety, what have you got in this country?
Completely agree. 11 NHS staff sacked for assessing the medical records. They're sick, but...
Yeah, they are, and it's awful.
We continue. I'd love more time, but you know what it's like. But Emma Webber, Barnaby Webber's mum, you're not going to give this fight up, and we are shoulder to shoulder with you on this, okay? You know that. Drop the pen. And that's what you're
there you go, pen drop.
Great to have you on. Thank you so much indeed. What is it, 12 minutes to 9? And Emma's story, that disgusting crime, and that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Somebody coming in saying, oh, it's not a big number. One person being stabbed to death by somebody
it's over 100 a year. Over 100 a year.
Shouldn't have been in society. Accept responsibility. Back in 3.
conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9 minutes to 9. So much to get into. First of all, that breaking news that we had just after 6 o'clock this morning. Police are now investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for potential sex crimes, it's understood. Detectives keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. Front of the Sun today. Andrew cops probe sexual misconduct, fraud, corruption, misconduct in public office, perverting the course of justice as the net widens. We say a very good morning to Talk's royal correspondent. Only got a few minutes. Rupert Bell, good morning. We joke a lot, but for me, as a royalist, where does this end, pal? This is in danger of dragging the legacy of Her Majesty and potentially this king as well into trouble, and it's not going away.
Yeah, and if you think about it, this comes after what has been a good few weeks for the royal family, in particular the king, Prince William, and some of the stuff he's doing. And obviously we had all the pictures of him in Istanbul, in just looking as if everything was normal, and the royal family just trying to go about their business. You know, that trip to America was hugely successful, and all the other things, not like he's been in Northern Ireland, which just seems to have gone down very well. But then, 24 hours on, you get yet more revelations about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And this is going to be a painstaking investigation. So it's going to go on and on. So there's no way that the royal family can see this sort of disappear and never re-emerge. This is not the case. And with these latest revelations about alleged sexual misconduct and then maybe passing on sensitive trade information, you know, this is not good. These allegations are very serious indeed. But the investigators have been at pains to point out, you know, they will not rush this. This has to be treated with the utmost respect from all sides, because it's a complicated case. This is not straightforward. And then what they'll do over the next few months is try and put a case to the Crown Prosecution Service to see whether there should be any cause to charge formally Andrew Mountbatten Windsor with any offences that they may find in following their investigations. But this is yet further lurid headlines, Jeremy, for the royal family to contend with, which is probably the last thing they could do with.
And the reason I couldn't agree more, the reason that I wanted to say this, if you can get me on camera, please, that would be quite important. The reason that I think that there's an issue which is going deeper now, Belly, is if you look at the front of the Mail, police probe Andrew over sex offences, and then down on the right-hand side, and this is what worries me, Queen pushed for Andrew to get trade envoy job. Kinsey and I were talking about this earlier. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but Prince Charles has been implicated. Is the Queen's legacy being trashed? Is she being thrown under the bus? In all the papers today, look, Andrew inquiry looks at sexual conduct. The Queen wanted him to have the job. Are they starting to attack each other? But more than anything, you're right about America, but this is gonna push, I think, the argument that there should be greater transparency, and I fear even the Queen will be embroiled, which is very sad.
Yeah, because obviously there's always the talk that Andrew was her favoured son. Yeah. And I do know for a fact she was desperate to find him something to do with his life, you know, and with some of the patronages and some of his...
Remember, the reason I wanted to bring this up is, do you remember that Prince Charles has made no secret, King Charles, of the fact he did not want him to be trade envoy. So there is a separation immediately, right?
Yeah, and this is the problem. The Queen definitely wanted to look after him and trying to give him something, and sort of didn't want to know almost about any of the allegations surrounding him and how he behaved. It was sort of, you know, almost with your ears blinded to what was going on. but she did want him to do something. And yes, and, you know, this is the problem. The Queen is being dragged into this just because it was perceived by most people that she was almost her favoured son. And that is the problem for the Queen. She's going to get dragged into this. But sadly for the Queen, her reputation when it comes to Andrew may be taking a hit. But unfortunately, it's her favoured son, if that is the case, who's caused all the problems by his sort of who he's associated with. Now, we don't know if these allegations are true as yet, but of course everything that he's been embroiled with and the sort of emails that have come out all look at a very close association with Jeffrey Epstein, which now the the investigators are looking into.
If I can jump in, and you said it, we haven't got a lot of time. He has denied all those allegations. I just want to ask you one thing, because I'm completely with you, and we appreciate you jumping on early today. Does he go to jail in your mind, Belly? Serious question.
If he's found guilty, he's now a private citizen. And I think for the sake of, if he has been found guilty in a court of law, then yes, I don't see why he should be given any favoured treatment. If they deem these, and he's found guilty of very serious offences, then jail is the ultimate outcome. You can't look, why should? And I don't think the British public would stand for it if it's seen that, OK, just because he's a former prince, that he doesn't go to jail. I don't think the British public would be happy with that.
Completely agree. Rupert Bell, we love you. Sorry it was a quickie, but thank you so much. Talks royal correspondent, 3 minutes to 9. Busy morning sports-wide. World Cup, United Kingdom. No, shut up. England's World Cup squad announced this morning at 9:45. Let's get a quick update. Sun Sport reporter Lord Canfield. Push that button for me, you lovely man.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From the Sun.
Lloyd Canfield, good morning. So TalkSport, our sister station, excellent. The World Cup squad announcement, 9:45. Couple of rumours. We haven't got much time. We know Maguire out. Foden, Palmer and potentially Trent Alexander-Arnold out as well, Lloyd.
Yeah, some big names missing. I mean, Palmer in particular, I'm stunned that he's not got a place on the plane. He showed in Euro 2024 the kind of player that he can be coming off the bench, even if he's not starting. But there's some surprise inclusions as well. The likes of Jarell Quansah, Dan Burn, no Lewis Hall. These are big decisions made by Tuchel, and we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out in the summer.
Absolutely. So World Cup squad announcement, 9:45. Sister station TalkSport, everything you need to know. White and Jordan from 10 o'clock talking about that. Full coverage. Just quickly, Premiership weekend. You know I've got skin in the game. I'm a West Ham fan. Relegation down to West Ham and to Tottenham. We can say that Tottenham are at home to Everton. Their home record appalling. Everton managed by David Moyes. Is he going to do the Hammers a favour? The Hammers were crap against Newcastle. Can they turn up at Leeds? Are Leeds on the beach? Where do you see it going?
Well, Leeds have been pretty good, actually, of late, unfortunately for you. Everton were just beaten by Sunderland as well. So if I'm putting money on it, I would bet on Spurs to stay up, but I'm not.
And who do you support?
I'm a Chelsea fan.
Good lad. You kept us in the game on Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whenever it was. Just quickly, great result for Arsenal after years of trying, and also Villa winning the Europa League under the specialist Unai Emery the other night.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Arsenal. That's something I never thought I would have. I would be happy to say. It's a real shame for me, but at the end of the day, they deserved it. I think they didn't bottle it, and they stayed true through the whole season, so they've done well.
Good man. Thank you, Lloyd Canfield. Thank you very much indeed. All on the back of the Sun and that 9:45 World Cup squad announcement on our sister station, the only place for live sport across the United Kingdom. TalkSport, the one and only TalkSport. That World Cup squad announcement at 9:45, and they will dissect it. White and Jordan from 10 o'clock. Right, almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. Talk breakfast until 10. So much still to come. And no doubt we'll talk about glamping. Isabelle's next after the news.
Across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just gone 9 o'clock. Welcome back. Welcome along. Where the hell have you been? This is Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock. Brit, thanks for your involvement this morning. Your views on the day's news are always important. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. You can send a voice note. The team are up and at it this morning. I'm on my 73rd cup of tea because I only had 2 hours sleep. You can text the show 87222. Don't forget, I want to repeat, 9:45. In less than 42 minutes' time, England's World Cup squad will be announced live on TalkSport, our sister station. It will be dissected later. White and Jordan, all the shows during the day. Who's going to make it? Who's going to miss out? Make sure you are there for that World Cup announcement. In terms of news, what are you waking up to? Well, pretty mind-blowing moment in the Makerfield by-election. Of course, the date's set for June the 18th. And, of course, as a result of that, you know by now the way that we have to broadcast. We have to give all possibilities to everybody to have their say. What we do know is that Andy Burnham is the Labour candidate. And we found out overnight that Keir Starmer has confirmed that he will go to Makerfield to campaign for his leadership rival. So we have the most unbelievable situation in British politics where an incumbent Prime Minister with a massive majority whose party don't want him is heading 200 miles north to support a bloke trying to win a seat who wants to only win that seat to depose the man who's gone 200 miles north to support him. You think this country's weird? That sums it up. You might have heard in the news the Green Party candidate in that same constituency has overnight resigned less than 12 hours after being nominated, but they will be standing another cabinet. We'll talk more about Makerfield. There's a story in the Telegraph today about our Angela Rayner. 5 people arrested to do with the local elections in her area. She, of course, Ashton-under-Lyme MP. Thameside's the council. It turns out there were 13 seats. Reform ran 12, but the one that Labour won, the Telegraph are claiming there were 5 independent candidates, some connections to Rayner, I believe, and that is in itself another story. Today, we can announce that toilets and changing rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex guidance, says the Equalities Watchdog. Finally, Bridget Phillips and her with the bob came to realise that the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court, so you have to implement their guidance. So yesterday she did that. But the problem is that, you know, transgender men are not allowed, to use a female toilet. But if you see them doing it, you're not allowed to complain. So the whole thing's sort of up in the air. And, of course, you'll have heard the royal news there with Belly just before the news. Police investigating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over potential sex crimes. They're keen to speak to a woman who claims she was taken to the former Prince Andrew's home in Windsor for sexual purposes. It just gets worse and worse for the royal family. A few texts before. Oh, actually, yes, and I'm going glamping next week with my children, which is causing huge amusement. Your photographs of me in long johns. I look like Waynetta Slob. I've got a glass of wine, she'd have drank Tizer, and a cigarette, and great. Wayne, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. I owe an apology. After me and Cole Turner had a bit of funnier expense regarding your class issue regarding glamping and the new Equalities Act's guidance, I can see the errors my way, my friend. If you're not identified as a common person and go glamping, then I understand I should be supporting that. I shouldn't be criticising you. You know, I understand you can't fully commit and transition into a proper tent, but you know, if you want to experience a little bit of what it's like for most of us on a day-to-day basis, then I should be supporting that. I mean, I don't understand sitting down for a wee, but you know, you be you, mate. So please accept my apology, and I've learnt the errors of my way.
I'm not going glamping. I'm never ever. Sod it. I'm going to the Ritz in I don't know, Milan. Sod it. My children can go on their own. I don't get. They can be taken into care for all. Honestly, I've had it. I have been abused. You try and do something. Listen, I'm an old man. My kids want to go camping, so you think you do the right thing. Completely humiliated. What do you do in the daytime? You sit in a field near a steaming cow pat that gets smellier and smellier because there's a heat wave. And at night, Tommy just... I wish, if you're on camera, our Tommy just went like this. Watch. Oh, like that. Terrible. 0344 499 1000. Here's a woman who's posh. She went camping. Wasn't camping. It was a Bedouin tent in the desert. Isabelle Oakeshott, good morning.
I'm not even pretending that was roughing it, and I don't think you're pretending that you're doing anything rough either.
It is quite rough. Victoria has to put the tea on the fire in the morning before I get out of bed, and you have to shower outside. But I mean, you know, apart from that, but I mean, I'm only sort of 80 miles from home, so I was thinking I could say I'm going down to the supermarket, rush home, have a shower, change and come back, couldn't I?
Do you know what? I feel more sorry for the people in neighbouring tents because I reckon you're going to be making a right old fuss. I mean, you are going to be drawing attention to yourself. You're going to be striding around, complaining. I know what men are like. You're going to be making a right drama of it.
Stop using this programme as a reason to criticise your man via me. That's wrong and unfair. He obviously didn't enjoy the camping, Richard, at all, did he? He hated every minute of it, didn't he? Let's be honest.
Loved it. He loved it. It wasn't proper camping, and neither is what you're doing. And you're making an absolute scene of the whole situation.
Sorry.
I can't wait for the photos, and I'm very sorry for the neighbouring campers when Kyle descends.
Heidi, hi. Listen, great to have you on.
Complete circus.
Thank you, darling. Listen, I don't know where to start. You know, you're a journalist who's worked in on these stories for a long time. You'll know now we're in sort of semi-purdah in terms of the election in Makerfield, that we have to be careful what we say, balance it out. But it is pretty mind-blowing to think that an incumbent Prime Minister is going up to Manchester to support a bloke who's only standing so he can go back to London and depose the very man who's coming to support him. I've never heard such a load of old tosh in my life.
Well, you've missed a key dimension there. He's not going up to support him. He's going up to sabotage him. Absolutely. He knows how unpopular he is. And all that's going to happen, the more that Starmer is up there, the worse Andy Burnham will do. And he must know that. So
no, I did. We were saying it all morning, and it's really the whole scenario of who's. I mean, this story in the paper this morning about Rayner and potential election fraud in Ashton-under-Lyne, 5 candidates who stood as independent with, they are saying, Labour links, although Labour denies that. Somebody, I can't remember, we've had so many guests this morning, said, Jez, that's probably somebody inside the Labour Party briefing against Angela Rayner. They're all out for each other. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past Starmer to be sabotaging Burnham in the most obvious way.
I mean, I suppose we'll know that's true if he sends Rachel Reeves up in a pink trouser suit. And then he'll know he really, really does want
pink trouser suit? When was that?
Oh, it's all over the Daily Mail today. The back of the Daily Mail, you'll see a very unflattering picture of Rachel. It's Jan Moyer's column, so let's say about page, I don't know, 40 or something.
You keep talking. You're allowed to say she looks unflattering.
It's just not the best. It wasn't me that said it. It was Jan Moyer. And
God, yes.
Clearly,
it's like a blancmange.
It's just not the best. So maybe, you know, Rachel could be Andy Burnham's secret. What's the reverse of a weapon?
On a serious note about Burnham, last week the weekend, I told you there was this sort of extraordinary sort of. He did an interview with ITV, and they actually, Isabelle, they sort of talked to him about the EU, and they talked to him about his views on the transgender debate, and he didn't. I was massively surprised at his reticence to engage, surprised that he didn't and wasn't seemingly prepared. Didn't come across as somebody very confident when he speaks, got the answers, going to tell you the truth. I looked at it and I thought, you know, if he does win Makerfield and he heads down to Westminster and he replaces Starmer, I'm not sure what the difference is. He'll lurch to the left. He will promise things that he can't achieve by borrowing money he shouldn't be allowed to spend, and this country will be further in the mire.
Yeah, that's right. I think you've probably hit the nail on the head there. He's a sort of slightly different version of Keir Starmer. He doesn't offer anything radically different. And I think that he will be found out. You know, if he does make it, he does get the top job. I'm trying to imagine him up against Nigel Farage in those leadership debates that you'd have before the election. And I honestly think Nigel will eat him alive, in the nicest possible way. I just don't think Burnham is that impressive. I'll say again, he's a nice guy, but we look for more than a nice guy in leaders of our country. In fact, being nice is probably the least important quality in a leader. It's much more important to have a big ambition and a clear idea of how you are going to achieve that ambition. And given the scale of the problems facing our country, a certain ruthlessness about getting it done.
But to be fair to him, balancing it out, he's got a profile that no other candidates have. Not the Reform candidate, not the Conservative candidate, the Green candidate who's resigned, but there'll be another one. And that will undoubtedly play to his advantage, I suspect. Have we got that video from Isabelle? Is that uploaded? You sent me a video yesterday, which I wanted to play this morning because we sit here and we talk about politics every single day, and then you assume, or we assume, that people are as invested in it as me. Just explain a little bit about this video, because this, to me, I find really quite frightening. Because in this instance, you see somebody who could well affect something and has absolutely no idea what they're doing. Tell us more before we play it.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we're not trying to shame this lady.
Nope.
She's a young woman. Actually, what this is a damning indictment on our education system.
Yeah.
This encounter with a lovely young woman really stopped us in our tracks. It was a reminder of how many ordinary people, and I'm sure there are hundreds of thousands like her, maybe that's an exaggeration, but at least tens of thousands like her, but probably hundreds, who just have no idea about politics. I mean, we didn't ask her who's the Prime Minister, because this wasn't a test designed to make her look daft, but I suspect she didn't know who the Prime Minister was. She had no idea what voting is really, or how to vote, or what different parties stood for. Yet she wanted to engage with us. She wanted to be on camera. She wanted to talk. And I think it is just an insight, a really disturbing insight into our education system. I mean, she can't have left school more than 5 years ago. She's left school with no idea at all about how the country works. You know,
let's play this. Great work again from you as well. Let's just play this clip. Watch this, peeps.
Recording now. Just wondering if you're voting in a by-election. Oh no. Why not?
I'm not running this.
Do you not think the country needs people to get up and start having a say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you going to vote or not?
I don't do that.
Well, you've got to register on the electoral roll first, and then obviously you register to vote, and you put your vote in. Obviously, you have to choose which party you want to vote for.
I wouldn't have a clue what to vote for.
No?
No, I wouldn't.
Well, no. Well, I mean, I can tell you who I'd vote for, but...
Who would you vote for?
Reform.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll have a look at them then.
Yeah. Your future and your kids' future counts on it.
Does it?
Yeah.
I'll have a look at them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
It's interesting, isn't it, Isabelle? We've always said that the beauty of your vote, whoever you vote for, is and was fought for your democratic right. But I, like you, feel sorry for that girl. We have an education system, this is me speaking, that seems to be increasingly ideologically based. I'd be teaching kids in schools far more practical things, like how to fill in a tax form, how to learn how to vote, how to change a plug. People laughed at me. They've laughed at me for years. I'm not sure an O-level in trigonometry or, I don't know, detail. I just think we should be more practical in our education, because that girl, no disrespect and absolutely not shaming her, hasn't got a Scooby about what we're talking about. And yet we have a government, an incumbent government, that wants to lower the voting age, right, consistently to secure its own future. And we're putting, the future of our country in the hands of people who don't even understand what they're doing.
It's really, really concerning. And I hugely agree with you about, what is taught in schools. I don't think it's really changed that much for hundreds of years. Yeah. I watched my kids toiling away trying to figure out chemistry and, completely convoluted equations, and think what would be much more useful is to teach you, as you say, how does the tax system work? Yep. How does the political system work? How do you cook healthy food? A lot of schools do some of that, but we are really letting down generations of children who are leaving school without the first clue about the world. And ultimately, understanding the world around you is a whole lot more important than understanding the periodic table.
Couldn't agree more. Can I just ask you briefly about the Angela Rayner story this morning? I have to point out the Labour Party say no evidence has been presented of any Labour Party involvement in these allegations. Rayner's office denies any involvement. Seems that 5 candidates, 4 men and a woman, were arrested yesterday on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud seem to have set themselves up as independent candidates in the Thameside area of Ashton-under-Lyme. There were 13 seats up for grabs, 12 won by Reform, but in this one constituency where there were 4-5 independent candidates, Labour came through because the vote was split and won. And now that the Telegraph is showing pictures of Angela Rayner with these people, which would suggest some sort of connection. Thoughts?
My thoughts are, not knowing about the individual case, my thoughts are that there is a huge amount of very low-level electoral fraud in our country, taking place at kind of council by-election level, ward level by-elections, where there are a number of tricks used to rig things in favour of a particular party. And I'm not just saying it's one party or another that is up to this, but I suspect it is strongest amongst sort of independent candidates, the more radical independents that stand and have strong personal followings. And, you know, something that I think Nigel Farage has talked about before is, and came up, I think, in Gorton and Denton, actually, is the number of, I think what they call it, family voting or something, where essentially in certain communities where women, unfortunately, don't enjoy the same level of equality as the rest of us.
But that was there was an investigation that was thrown out, that accusation, wasn't it?
Well, you know, and this happens so much, it can be very hard to prove. And I'm always a bit wary of when a party loses, you know, they say, well, it's, you know, there must have been fraud. By and large, our system is really good and pretty robust. But I think at a local level, bad stuff does happen. And perhaps this is an example of that.
Listen, great to have you on. Just, I know you're going to, I mean, I'm not massive on this story, but yesterday, Bridget Phillipson finally announced that Supreme Court guidance, which is that toilets and changers must be used on the basis of biological sex guidance. There's a bit of a loophole, because she also said that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are before they use the toilet or the changing room. So you've now got a situation where a man dressed as a woman's not allowed to use a single sex, well, a female toilet. But if you see a man dressed as a woman going into a female toilet, you can't bring it up with them for fear of being prosecuted. God.
I can't believe all this stuff. I mean, what are we doing with all of this stuff?
You mean you don't accept that a woman can have a penis?
I just don't accept that we should be even having this debate. I'd just like to see men's toilets, women's toilets, and if people really want, we could have toilets for anyone, unisex toilets, and that's for in-betweeners or people that, you know, identify in different ways, fine. But women's toilets are for women and men's toilets are for men. And by all means have a middle ground, which is separate, although I have to say, where I sit here in Dubai, they don't bother with any of that. And even better, the toilets here, public toilets here, are like some kind of designer thing. They are beautiful. So how about we focus on having hygienic toilets? Never mind all this fuss about who's using them.
I love you. So I'm going off camping. You say I'm going to make it all about myself. I'm not. I'm going to do my best, and I will send you some photographs. That didn't sound right. What?
I can't wait to see the images.
Thank you very much indeed. The wonderful Isabelle Oakeshott, live and exclusive on Talk Breakfast 9:22. Alex Phillips here from 10 o'clock. Mark says, aren't you too good for glamping? No, I'm not. I'm a man of the people. Oh, God. Jeff says, Jez, beware. Was camping in Whitby. Open tent to go for a pee in middle of the night, only to be head-to-head with a sheep. Did it have the horn, though? That's all I'm asking. Did it have it? Because that could have... Yes. Jez, don't forget to check for ticks when you're glamping. For God's sake, they like warm places, all those little crevices. Marie in Kent, thank you very much indeed. Lovely. Dee, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Dee from Derbyshire. Loving the show. Ever heard of the saying, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer? Starmer and Burnham, I think. Loving the show. Have a great holiday, Bobs. Bye.
conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:25. We've been talking about the Makerfield by-election, June the 18th. Important that we tell you all the candidates so far. As I said, during broadcasting with any by-election, it's important we give all sides. Andy Burnham will, of course, be standing for the Labour Party. Alan Howlin, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon for Reform UK. Rebecca Shepherd for Restore Britain. Michael Winstanley, the Conservative Party. Now, we told you earlier the Green candidate has indeed dropped out, but the party does say they will replace him. Hello to Joe in Norfolk. Great show, Jez. Love the fact Starmer going up to Makerfield to campaign. He knows he's so hated he'll scupper Burnham's chances of winning. Absolute proof that he cares more about his own job than the country or his party. We see you, Starmer, says Joe in Norfolk. Hello to Janice in Staffordshire. Starmer's going up to Makersfield. Kiss a bleeding death. She didn't say that, but I thought I'd join in. Matthew in Cheltenham. If I was Burnham, Starmer would be the last person I want campaigning for me, but maybe it will help reform. Also, don't worry about Mad Ed the Red becoming PM. It will attract the lefties from the Greens and help any other party. Morning, Jez. I totally agree with you that it's not acceptable for any party in government to just impose a replacement PM without the people having the opportunity to approve the manifesto of the proposed replacement through a general election. Dave in South Gloucestershire. As an alarm clock medical mum struggling on the pittance I get for carers, I don't know how I'm eating this weekend, don't know who can afford to go away for the bank holiday. Bless your heart, sweetheart. That's why we do it every day. That's the point, isn't it? That is absolutely true and absolutely switched on. 9:27. Let's say a very good morning to our intrepid... Oh, actually, all right. First, Adam. Good morning.
Hi, Jezza. Adam from Bournemouth. You just mentioned there about that Starmer looked quite chippy, walking up to the camera, saying, oh, immigration's good, and thinking that he's doing a great job. And he probably does feel a little bit happy with himself, and he's going to go up to Makersfield and you know, with Wes and all the clan, and show the support for Burnham. But do you know what, Jez? Do you know what I really think? I still think this Mandelson thing is still going to come back and bite him, because he doesn't want to release the files, and and we all know why he doesn't. But I still think that's going to play a big part in this, my friend. Anyway, mate, have a great day. Try and enjoy the sun as much as you can, and try not to burn that barnet. Anyway, mate, cheers.
Burn that barnet? What, when I go camping? Oh, God, you lot have depressed me. Now, 0344 499 1000, so much to talk about. Phil's in Coventry. Like you, I was always a royalist, Jez, but sorry, enough is enough. Times have changed. These accusations this morning in front of the Sun. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, we broke this at 6, now facing... a probe into misconduct. Police locally in Windsor wanting to speak to a woman who said that she was taken to Royal Lodge, Andrew's ex-house in Windsor, for sexual purposes. He's being also probed for fraud, corruption, misconduct in public office and perverting the course of justice. Many people tuning into the show this morning saying he will have to go to jail the way that it's worked out. Phil's in Coventry. I was always a royalist, but sorry, enough is enough. Times have changed. Maybe keep William, Kate and their children as a token, but the rest, the hangers-on, time to make your own way in life. Cliff's in Berkshire. Morning, Cliffy. I wonder if Starmer or his advisors listened to Talk, because this was the message I sent to Talk last week. I think, Jez, that Keir Starmer will sabotage Burnham by turning up in Makerfield and campaigning for him. That would scupper Burnham's chances and then give other parties a chance to win. Loads of you with an opinion this morning. 0344 499 1000. Last week, our intrepid Talk Breakfast presenter, or even reporter and presenter, whatever you want to call her, went down to those awful march, that march, the Unite Britain, not there was two marches. Anyway, one particular march, awful. We heard this horrible clip where they said knife him in the neck like Charlie Kirk, which just got such traction online. She's always doing a great job. Samara Gill, a very good morning.
Morning, JK. Yeah, it did actually. I've been talking to Elon Musk about it because he's trying to ban those people from entering.
Sorry, you've been talking to Elon Musk. You, Samara Gill, have been speaking to Elon Musk.
Yes, well, us at the breakfast show, I guess, because it had so much pickup, you know, it ended up getting 30 million views, and people got very, very upset about the death cult that the left wing has become. You know, it's just, you can see the two-tier policing element when you see that, you know, if that was said on the other side, can you imagine the reaction? You know, there'd be people locked up. There'd be more Lucy Connollys, you know, there'd be all that type of thing. So it's ridiculous that was able to go ahead, and some of the student unions that were involved should be held accountable.
Have you been doing more piece of work? What's happening? Help me out. I'm the old man who's going... By the way, what do you think about glamping?
It's fantastic. It's actually an Australian tradition. I'm a big fan of this, and I'm expecting a full album of photographs, Jake.
I have been absolutely slaughtered by these townies. I am going glamping into a beautiful tent with everything done for me, right? It's 30 degrees. I sit in front of a fire pit drinking wine. My kids play with all the other kids. They swim in streams, ride their bikes. What's better? Gold Christian keeps going... So you're in a field. What do you do all day? You're in a field. Apart from go for a drink, you're in a field. What happens all day in a field?
I say to Christian, go touch some grass, mate. It's good for the soul.
I don't... If you've just tuned in, she's talking about grass on the ground. Go touch some grass, mate. It's good for the soul. Brilliant. We're now advocating weed on the breakfast show. No Aussies like it. A Barbie out in the bush, mate.
Yeah, we love a Barbie. We love all that. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a concrete jungle over here. And so I want to know the location of this glamping. Can I come along and do a hit from there?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get there. I'll be so bored of just sitting watching my children, before anybody says anything. Oh, why are you watching? I'm not. Anyway, I'll send for you. We can do a report live from the glamping site.
Can we please?
Christian will not make eye contact with me now because every single person for a week's gone, that's dreadful. But Samara agrees with me. He says he's disgusted with you and your career's over on the breakfast show.
It's been over for a long time and over for many other reasons.
Well, listen, the two of us need to worry because old Charlie Rowley is in tonight from 7 o'clock for Peter Cardwell. I think he's got the eyes on the prize, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I love Charlie, though. He's fantastic. He makes everything make sense.
He's a good man. What are we talking about then? Talk to me.
Well, it's interesting we were talking about nefarious drug use because it is, or we weren't, we were actually talking about touching literal grass, but it came across that way because the Green Party is at it again. The deputy mayor of Hackney, who's a 19-year-old,
Sorry, can you stop there? The deputy mayor of Hackney is 19.
Yeah, he's a sort of, he's an acolyte to or sort of a nemesis of the George Finch character that is obviously the 19-year-old Reform UK council member / leader. But he's come out and he has said that it's a Green Party policy that basically landlords should not make a profit. So let me
Sorry, can we rewind there? Sorry, what was that? What?
So landlords should not make a profit. There is a clip that we'll put in, but essentially Dylan Law, who's the deputy mayor of Hackney, he's saying tough luck. Landlords shouldn't make a profit. I live in a place. I know the basic running costs of it. He basically says that they want to make laws that would make sure that you pay the bare minimum and no one makes a profit off it. So what is the point of even being a landlord in general if that's going to be the case? It's like saying, hey, I want to go to a pub and buy a pint, but I want it to be, I don't want the publican to make any money off it. Or I want to go to the store and buy a jumper, but
so how does
I don't want them to make any money off that. It's ridiculous.
It is more than ridiculous. And tell me, I'm just adding up some dots here. Am I right in saying that the Green Party, nationally, their plan is to open the borders and give anybody who comes here a house and potentially a job? Yes or no?
I believe that's the policy. That's what all refugees welcome.
Okay, and then we know, don't we, that lots of landlords are throwing tenants out and saying, we'll take advantage of the Home Office. You're giving me a 3-year contract. You're trebling my monthly spend. Fantastic. What's this idiot in the Green Party assuming? That landlords are going to open their houses as HMOs and they're going to get them for free? This is ludicrous, man. What, so we've got more money to give away to migrants and benefits, yes? Ridiculous.
Exactly, JK. I mean, it's pie-in-the-sky politics that they're trying to sell to people. It's like free candy for all, you know, with no consequences. And I think that's the dangerous part about some of these policies, is that they do just throw them out there. And look, if you're a renter, you're probably thinking, wait, that's great. You know, my rent could go down from £2,000 a month to being, you know, 600 or even less. But actually, in the real world, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, that would just stop people from letting out properties, or, you know, it would actually make them find very strange ways of being able to then make a profit, or they'd sell it off. Economically, it just doesn't work. I can't even get my head around it. But I'm going to interview someone. He's a multi-millionaire property developer, and he has really built himself up from the ground. His name's Samuel Leeds, and he actually evicted one of his tenants for voting Green and supporting the Green Party policies, because he said, well, if you don't want me to make a profit, well, you can find someone that would like to rent you the place.
Is that discrimination against a poor person just voting for the Greens, being thrown on the streets?
It probably is, and we'll find out what's actually going on and what his logic behind that is, because I'm not sure you can just start evicting people, and especially now with the new ridiculous Labour Party
renters' right surely would give them right to say. I mean, see, that's where I would differ, and a lot of people will go, really? I don't care what your politics are. I don't. I told the story yesterday of being sat at a do on Tuesday night, and I literally just two socialists just literally bang straight in, and that's fine. That's why I have a problem with a couple of my kids. They've got a completely diametrically opposed view to me, which I love.
Would you evict them?
No, of course not. But I also don't like it. My real problem with those sorts of people, including my elder kids, is that their way is the only way, and I have to be cancelled, trashed, and everything I believe in has to be slagged off. I think a democracy means I could stand in front of you and you and I could share completely polar opposite views, and we talk about it and get on with it. No, you can't evict somebody because, you know, they support the Green Party, although patently, you know, some people would think that if you support a party that advocates, you know, legalising heroin, that you've got to be quite mad anyway. But I think the Green Party and Zach Polanski will probably... Well, Zach Polanski's deaf, or Paul, or is it Dave? Is it Dave?
David Paulden?
Yeah, David Paulden.
Honestly.
How do you go from David Paulden to Zach Polanski?
Well, it's a much sort of racier, easily noticed political name. It's very confected, just like how he started his early days as an actor. I think it is all some sort of act in some way. But I kind of disagree with you a little bit, JK.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing to disagree.
You should live and die by the sword. So if that tenant doesn't want landlords to make a profit, then he can face the consequences of that, and he can get evicted. And this is kind of the whole issue, is that those who then vote for the policies experience them and don't like it very much. Yeah, and that's half the problem.
Can I just ask you quickly, and we'll look forward to that interview, only because I know you're going to have an answer. Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary and the Safeguarding Minister, today announced that toilets and changing rooms must be used on the basis of biological sex guidance. The Supreme Court, of course, a year ago said biological men, biological women. And it's taken her a year to come out. And although that could, on its face, you know, be common sense, we found a loophole. Because she also says that transgender people should not be asked what sex they are before they use the aforementioned toilet. So you basically got a man dressed as a woman who's not allowed to use a female toilet. Hurrah, common sense. But if you're heading towards the urinal and you see a man dressed as a woman about to go into a female toilet, you're not allowed to challenge them because you could be prosecuted and that might be unfair to them.
Oh, goodness me. I didn't know about that other element to the story. And I mean, she's so late to the party with this sort of thing. I actually take the position that I think she might be politically undermined by this. I think she's actually vilifying a big section of the Labour voter base that are extremely left-wing and think that this is some sort of draconian law that she's just putting in place now. Obviously, it should have happened a year ago. We did extensive work with the Darlington nurses on this show who have been totally wronged and in some ways are still fighting for their justice for having to share a changing room with a trans person. Some of them had been sexually abused in their childhood, didn't feel comfortable with it. And so it's just too little too late from the government. And you're right, she can't backtrack. She can't have it both ways. Unfortunately, with this sort of thing, it's got to be one rule of law and that's it. And you're right. I think Labour just tries to pander to everyone and absolutely pleases nobody. And this is a great sort of little thing to show just how that is the case. They're not going to be able to please the supreme left who want trans people in every bathroom and blah, blah, blah. And I think trans people should have their rights, but it shouldn't come at the cost of women's rights.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. So, pictures from Glamping on the way, videos as well. I suspect as the only person in this building who hasn't humiliated me. I love you very much. Thank you very much indeed. You're great. Samara Gill, breakfast presenter and reporter. Thank you so much indeed. Jez, Glamping. We always say on this show that the legal should be put in tents that be put up in hotels. So that tells me everything about tents, is Max in Edinburgh. There you are. John's in Poole. Somebody has to be. I'm joking. Jez, this about glamping. Brits have no clue what real camping or glamping, as they call it, is. Make sure you keep warm. It's nearly midsummer. It'll be cold at night. Brilliant. Now then, Jez, Keith in a sunny Blackpool. Glamping. Have you ever watched Four on a Bed, a TV programme, before you start with your filth? Honestly, the grief I'm getting, Jez, make sure you don't leave your car near any cows if you've waxed it. Cows love the flavour, and I've seen a new Jaguar ruined by cows whilst its owner camped at a field. Alison in Richmond. Sorry, so they like waxed cars. Does that mean they're going to attack my wife's legs? That'll be the next thing, won't they? Why have you got a cow on your legs? JK, did your wife warn you that you would have to leave your favourite bright-coloured fluffy slippers at home and remember to take your midge repellent ready for nights? Dried out cow pats make great frisbees. Have fun, enjoy the starry nights because you won't see them in London. Les from the West Country, isn't that lovely? Oh no. 0344 488 1000. We've waited all morning for her. After this break, the woman who puts the royal in royal, Angela Levin, royal broadcaster, next on Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I feel like I've become a figure of fun here After your glamping holiday, I think you should treat Mrs. Carr to a relaxing weekend away due to your complaining, maybe. Is it Champneys where Sprinkles Markles went? Joking, JK. Have a nice holiday and hope the hammers stay up. Christian's like, so does this tent have a thing? I said, you've got like a proper oven thing like there's at home. And he went, so you've got an oven at home? I said, yeah. He said, you don't know how to use it. I said, no, I don't. But I did cook once and it caused Dave... It's not funny, Dave. The War Office, as Grandad calls the wife, but he's dead. So Victoria went out for the evening. Kids are asleep. She left me a pizza. I quite like pizza occasionally. So I've poured the beer and she switched the oven on because it's quite confusing. And I put the pizza in for 12 minutes and I pulled it out. I got a plate, salt and pepper, bit of salad, sat down. Got halfway through it, Dave, and I thought, that's quite chewy. Have I done it wrong? You know the polystyrene bottom? I cooked it to the pizza. I couldn't go to the loo for a week. Absolute nightmare. 0344 419 1000. Here's a woman who knows all about... Well, she's brilliant. Angela Levin, good morning.
Good morning. You're making me laugh straight away.
Can I ask you a question? You're a lady of the world. Do you like camping?
Yeah, love it.
See? Angela Levin. I'm taking my kids glamping. They're humiliating me. I think it's fantastic in this weather, don't you?
I think it's lovely. Absolutely lovely. You're out in the fresh air, and you look up at the sky, if you want to, through the door a little bit, and I just love it. I used to go a lot. I used to be a girl guide.
Did you?
I used to go, yes, I used to go a lot.
I'm so glad we've got you on. Quality at last. How are you anyway? You all right?
I'm fine, thank you.
You and I both royalists. Shocking. We had breaking news this morning when we woke up. Andrew Cox probes sexual misconduct, fraud, corruption, misconduct in public office, perverting the course of justice. Specifically, this morning, Angela, we find out that he's being probed over sex offences. Police in the Windsor area wanted to speak to a young woman who said that she was taken to Royal Lodge, his former dwelling, for sexual purposes. It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it?
Yes, and he just keeps saying he doesn't know anything about this. At some point, they've got to make a change, haven't they?
Well, I can always speak candidly with you. I don't know what's true and I don't know what's false. He's always denied all the allegations, and it's important to say that. But it just continues. And for me, there was a bit of a moment this morning because you've got that headline, that royal sensation headline, but right next to it, Angela, you've got the Queen pushed for Andrew to get the trade envoy job. Are we in danger of Her Majesty's legacy of over 70 years on the throne being increasingly tarnished by this man?
Well, I'm trying to organise it a bit so it doesn't go quite like that. She obviously made a big mistake, but I think that Andrew was nagging her to do this. This is my answer, because the Queen has been a wonderful woman, and I don't want to say, well, look what she's done. You know, I think that she must have been under pressure by her son, who she adores, and she could never actually work against him. I mean, she wanted him to go to a very important job, and people would say to her, no, I've looked it all up. No, don't do that. He's not ready for it. Doesn't know enough about it. And she took no notice of that. And that to me was that it was to help her son.
Do you, I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. I've got my own thoughts. Why was he her favourite?
Well, it's quite interesting. He was the third of the children. And after the second one, Princess Anne, their marriage got a little wobbly. And he didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't feel he had a part. So her husband went off around the country for about 6 months.
Yeah, it's true.
And then he came back and they got very, very close together again, and the child was the result of that. And so she also felt, which I know she said, that she had more time with the two little ones. She didn't know how to look after children. She was extremely busy, a lot of rushing around. But with Andrew, she felt happy. And
was it that her marriage was back on track and he was the baby, and it was like a new beginning, which is why Charles has always said it was quite frosty, it was quite, you know, at arm's length when he was being brought up. He is such a stain on the royal family that I have always looked up to, and I know this might not be popular with you, but he refuses to give up his freedom of the City of London. He's been stripped of every title. It cannot get any worse, and yet every day, sexual offences now. There's going to come a time, Angela, where this is also going to impinge on Charles and the monarchy in greater detail. People are already saying, surely Charles knew about the 12 million loan, surely the Queen's not that stupid, blah, 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 blah. I was quite outspoken last time we spoke. I think even King Charles is going to be pushed into having to do something, because this just keep quiet and calm and carry on. It's not going to wash with the British public anymore. It's not.
No, I don't. I agree with you. Let me just read to you something that I saw just before I came on here. He wasn't given any money, right, Andrew? He wasn't.
He got
paid
12
anything.
million quid.
No, he wasn't given any money as a fare that he needed for his job. But what he was done, he was paid for everything he did. So I just read what he did. So this is the sort of man he is. Private jets, luxury hotels, 2 clerics, an equerry, valet carrying an urn on board all the time, private states, all expenses closed for his time in all the countries that he wanted to visit. So he wasn't there because he wanted a job. He was out there to have fun and to have lots of money that somebody else pays for.
Yeah.
And
Do you think our king, and I know this is, for many, it's a contentious thing, he's stripped of his title. I mean, the critics will say, despite all of that, despite allegations of, fraud and deception in public office, now sexual allegations, all that he denies, we have to keep saying it's allegation, allegation, allegation. What else can Charles do? People will ring me and go, well, he's hardly in bloody exile. He's in a 5-bedroom house being paid for to sit, being surrounded by servants, and he might have lost his titles, but essentially he's still got a life of luxury, and that doesn't sit with people well, and it will get worse and worse, is what I'm saying.
Yes, well, I think the answer to that is quite a simple one, but also difficult, is that to take him to court. And then we see whether he will say yes or no. I mean, he just keeps saying no, nothing. I don't know this. No, I've never seen, anything is always no, no, no. So they've got to actually do something that, the king can't take him to court if they haven't got anything that they're really saying. He's just saying it. So they've got to get someone else to look things up and to have enough things that are absolutely 100%, and then he can go to be shot at or whatever. He can be punished. But you can't take someone who says, I don't really know this. Why are you against me?
But he never talks about the victims. He never mentions the victims. It's all about him.
He pretends he doesn't know them.
There were a couple of stories in the Mirror today. Sarah Ferguson begging for a royal pension, but Eugenie and Beatrice refusing William's demands. What's that?
I think he wants some money left from what they've been using for going out to do things that are royal. I don't necessarily know that. I don't always believe everything someone writes. And
do you think they're an issue? Certainly we know that Fergie is touting herself and running around and hiding. Do you think Eugenie and Beatrice, Andrew Loney always says, are up to their necks in it as well with contacts and money that they've made? Do you think they will... Do you think the whole of the York dynasty have to be cast aside? But how do you cast Andrew aside? I mean, I don't understand. What more can he do?
Yeah, because he's the third, of the children, and he can't do that. I don't know yet about the 2 girls. It's difficult to know, and I think we shall see as they get involved or not involved. They seem sometimes to be doing things that are very nice for us, and other times, making a lot of money. It's difficult.
But that's what Loney said, that they've made money because of their contacts. They've made money because of their parents. They weren't 6 and 8 when they were taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island. They were 18 and 20. They know their own minds. They've done well out of it. But I want to go back to the Andrew thing, and I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm not sure what else the king can do. Exile him abroad? Who's going to have him?
Well, there are a lot of people who will have him out of the countryside. They've offered him big castles and all that, and, you know, they'll have people looking after him and all that.
Does he deserve that, Angela?
Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't deserve to be in a decent home at the moment, does he? I mean, I think they've got to speed up and make sure that they get a court case up and ready, and then that can be done. I don't know that the king could go to court, but...
Does he go to jail, in your mind?
Well, I hope so.
Do you?
I don't believe that he doesn't know anything. I just think that he's decided he's not going to. And the thing is, from America, they've got to be very careful because they don't have the same way of talking to him and getting him to a court. They've got to get someone here and to take him away, rather like they did when they upped him up and took him down to the police. They've got to do it very carefully. And I think that that's what, you know, it's absolutely what they've got to do, because it is so disgusting now. It is so horrific. And all the things that you mentioned at the beginning of what can happen, to what people are complaining about, is very, very difficult. One of the good things is Camilla, because what she hates is women being attacked in any way. This is one of her key things that she looks after. And I think she will actually keep on at Charles.
Well, I heard the other day, and we've only got a minute left, that actually the two leading advocates of cutting this family in their entirety off and keeping Charles focused and strong are, of course, William, but Camilla is the leading voice in that because of exactly what you said. Women's rights. She's thinking about the victim. She's not thinking about her brother-in-law. You know, it's all about him, and essentially it's not. Angela, bless you. Does Fergie go to jail? 30 seconds.
Oh, we'll have to see. I couldn't care less about her.
No. Do you care about my camping?
No, I think it's good.
Good. Well, if I could invite you, I would. There I am. Look, there's another picture of me, apparently. Guests sending in all sorts of pictures.
It's very nice in the outdoors.
That's my tent flying off in the wind. That's a lovely picture. Look, that's great. Thank you to the person that mocked that up. That's on AI.
You look a bit anxious.
Well, it's because it's AI. I look positively. Anyway, never mind. You're a legend, Angela Levin. My favourite guest. We love you, Rob Ogrifer. Thank you very much indeed. Stand by then for Alex Phillips. Yes, next week, a bank holiday week. I'll be glamping. The incredible Ian Collins will be here with the team who will go. Phew, thank God he's off for a week. Charlie Rowley tonight, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, Charlie Rowley, his own show. Enjoy that. Have a great bank holiday weekend. I'll try to come back in a week's time, not smelling of whatever you get when you're out in the countryside. News at 10 is next.
Good morning, Jeremy. It's Sarah from Croydon. Just with regard to the young lady in Makerfield who isn't aware of the upcoming by-election, she also probably has siblings. She has parents, grandparents who maybe also don't understand the process of voting in a by-election and why it's so important. There are generations of people out there who just don't vote. I have it in my own family. My cousins do not vote because they don't see the importance of it. They don't see the benefit of it. They don't see how their vote can make a difference. And despite me telling them, despite their mum telling them, my dad telling them, they're just not interested. It's not reaching them, and the impact we can have, they just don't see it as important, and it's so sad. Thanks, Jeremy.